Hello again, friends! And you are our friends, and welcome back to another edition of Jim Cornette's Drive Thru. Here on another winter's day, cold, although maybe hot in the house for some, maybe hot under the collar for others. I'm your host, the great Brian Last. Here he is, the star of the show, the man who will be answering your questions at some point today, Mr. Jim Cornette.
I don't know if I'm going to be answering any of your questions, Brian Last. But you have perturbed me.
What's your problem?
Right before we come on the air here, you tell me, oh, it's so hot. Oh, I've turned my heat off, but it's so hot. Oh, I'm going to go put my shorts on. I need to feel some air on my legs. I'm sitting here wearing my thickest sweatpants, a t-shirt, a fleecy, furry San Francisco jacket that Stacy got me that I wear in colden times. And two pairs of socks in my office where I've just turned the heat up. And outside this morning, I'll have you know, there was no poop song being sung this morning. Poopville has struck out. Mighty Harley couldn't step on the grass to go poopy because it's frozen straight up in here, spiky like one of Luna Vachon's mohawks. And you're talking about you need some air on your legs. I'd like to shoot some helium up your ass and watch you float away.
Well, there's better things to do with your time, I would think, than that.
I don't know. People say I yell at clouds. You might as well be one of the clouds. See, Brian, I told you.
Has anyone ever tried this? Has anyone ever, other than the cartoons, has anyone ever tried the helium up the ass routine to see if it works?
Well, no, there was the special candy in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, but that wasn't really helium and it wasn't applied rectally. If any of the Cult of Cornette members out there have ever either tried being the recipient of or the administrator of a helium enema that resulted in somebody floating away,
this show is floating away. It had so much promise 10 minutes ago.
Sailing away. Set an open course for irrelevancy.
Hey, you know what? That song, based on when it came out, that's kind of in the wheelhouse for when you were in school. Was that a big song for you?
It's a big song for me because Cartman sang it.
I wasn't talking about South Park. You brought it to South Park. I was talking about when Styx actually released a song.
No, actually Styx in those days was considered a pussy band at first.
Okay, that's what I want to hear. What was your impression of Styx in that song?
Well, that was a little pussy band song, but now Renegade. Now there you can dig your teeth into that. The jig is up, the word is out.
Who's some of the other pussy bands in your eyes?
Well, the Pussycat Dolls. They're
not even a band. It's just a bunch of models turning around. That's all they do. They say something, they turn around, they twirl their hair.
And say something again, and then turn around.
Let's hear them without the backing track, without auto-tune.
Oh, Mr. Music Business over here. Now you're going to go on a diatribe. I've got a letter, by the way. An actual letter, not an email, but listen. See, it's notebook paper. It was written and mailed to me about... Actually, we didn't even talk about this recently. It was a while back, but through the miracle of the official Jim Cornette YouTube channel, these things live forever, and we invite you to listen to every single one of them over and over again. Go to sleep on it. Just leave it playing. But would you like to hear? It was about the talk we had about gerbils a while back.
No, I don't want to hear this. And that was a long while back. Why are we revisiting this?
Because I just got this letter.
You just got it, or you just found it?
I just got it. I got it right out of the post office box.
It's a handwritten letter someone wrote?
That's what I'm telling you.
Of all the things about gerbils. All right, let's hear it.
Yes. Dear Jim and Brian, thank you for your recent coverage of the wonderful world of gerbling. We here at the NAGS, a.k.a. the North American Gerbling Society, owe you a debt of gratitude for bringing to light and to a worldwide audience of millions of Cult of Cornette members the joy that is the feeling of a live animal burrowing up your bunghole. In recognition of your recent service to all of us here at NAGS, we would like to bestow upon you, James Cornette, the title of Most High and Exalted Gerbil Master. We would also like to recognize the great Brian Last for his devoted service and declare that from this day forward,
No, fuck
he
you.
be known
That's all right. Nope.
as the great gerbilicious superstar, Brian Last. Thank you both, and happy gerbling. And it is signed Kenny O, the president of North American Gerbling Society, and Vince R, the vice president of NAGS. Thank you, gentlemen, for that.
Now, hold on. Did you know you were going to transition to this? To gerbils up the ass from helium up the ass?
No, I had this letter sitting here, and then we just got on helium naturally, but it's all anally oriented.
All right.
But I got that in the box. You know, we forgot when we did this is your show, and I'm going to turn it over to you momentarily.
I hope so.
But, well, don't get uppity now, for heaven's sake, or it might take a while. But on the experience, I left a dangling participle, is what I did. I left an open-ended.
What?
We were talking about the cameo because we were recording parts of last weekend's marathon Jim Cornette experience where we talked about the Rumble and the SmackDown and the Dynamite and the fucking nitroglycerin and whatever the fuck else we were talking about. And at the same time, the cameos went on sale, the personalized video messages that for St. Valentine's Day massive cameos. And we had been talking about this and I said, jump in quickly. And I warned people, but as we were on the air, I said, oh shit, I checked it as we were recording and they were going fast. And then I left it. We forgot about it. Didn't go back to it. And the resolution, because I had a few people tweeting me like, when's these cameos coming up? Saturday afternoon. As well, they've been there and gone. We unfortunately, if that's a way to look at it, fortunately for some, possibly unfortunately for others, we sold out in an hour and 5 minutes. So because I don't want everybody mad at me. Hotchkiss and I are going to get together. We don't have a date now, but we're going to do this again next month, either for March Madness or Easter surprise. I don't know. There's never been a big Easter show. They shot the wabbit. They shot the wabbit. But anyway, so we're going to do some more cameos for the people that missed out, but we're still shooting. Yesterday, Hotchkiss came over to the castle and we shot 40 of them, and he's coming back tomorrow. We're going to shoot another 40. So half the people have them already. The other half will have them by the time you hear the sound of my voice. And I appreciate everybody jumping in quick. And, you know, I know a lot of people say, God damn it, there's people digging ditches. And you're just talking for, seconds or whatever. People don't realize the effort that goes into that I'm putting into these things. You and I have talked about it, but we got the camera. The Hotchkiss picked out the state-of-the-art space age video camera phone now, that the best one you can get. And we don't use it for a phone. It's in the box. It's only used for the cameos. And we've got the lighting and we got the audio and we tripod this thing. We don't have, some people are holding this thing in their hand by themselves and looking straight up their nostrils. It's like you're in ENT fucking examination. None of that. We're lit. I'm lit. I don't mean drunk. I mean properly lighted. And we give, everybody gets 2 to 3 minutes. So it takes a little while. Try doing 40 of those in a row when you've never heard this information before in your life. So it is a time-consuming procedure. I don't want people to think we're just sloughing this stuff off around here, like you do sometimes.
I'm not on Cameo.
But, I mean, you slough other things.
I don't slough anything.
You're a notorious slougher in some cases.
Well, coming from a notorious gerbler like you, I'll take that.
Well, I'll have you know I'm a grand exalted. Wait a minute. What am I?
What are you? From Kenny?
I'll tell you what I am here. I'm a most high and exalted gerbil master, by God, is what I am. And I'll have you give me the respect that a most high and exalted gerbil master deserves here on this program.
Maybe you can become treasurer.
Hey, I don't want to be responsible for the money because there's a lot of wealthy people that have a gerbling hobby going on. All right. Anyway, so are you cooled off now yet? Can you take over this program? And by the way, go to JimCornette.com. Even though we don't have the cameos available right now, everything else is in the Cornette's Collectibles line, including the award-winning Lazy Booking t-shirts, the Cornette face shirt, the Behind the Curtain graphic novels, Cult Cornette membership certificates, and so much more, autographed by me and ultra careful handled by the Featherbottoms.
That's right, but let's move on with the show. And unfortunately, we can't do that without getting a review out of the way.
Oh, boy.
Now, Jim, we came out of the Royal Rumble. Well, at least I was. I was optimistic about the direction of various things. I thought there were some good matches. You enjoyed a couple of things. Thought a couple other positive results happened, but you didn't like everything that led to it. So we go into Raw. Typically, I think one of the big Raws of the year, coming out of WrestleMania, coming out of the Royal Rumble. There are certain ones. And this was Raw coming out of the Rumble.
This was Raw coming out of the Rumble. And again, it's 3 hours long. And I know we'll get into it, but they make stars with some of their attributes, the WWE, of big production and highly polished and glamorous, and it is the big show, right? I mean, it's set the wrestling content of either AEW or WWE completely aside, just as television programs on the platforms they're on and the budget they have and the production, whether it's Fox Network Television or, this multi-million-dollar production they've got on USA Network, it's the big show. There's more viewers. There's more money spent on it. That's where you see or expect to see the stars, and they're supposed to look like stars, right? And that is leading into the first segment of Raw, because that describes Cody. But as we'll see as we go through this program, one of their attributes is also one of their downfalls, as, again, there's never been a wrestling show where matches are less important and in some cases less entertaining than this 3-hour journey through hysteria. The fucking Dick Cavett show had more action in some cases than Raw does these days. But at the same time, you've got to let the people who deserve it and who can carry the segment and who need to, the chance to get over, you got to give them time to go out there and do it. But goddamn, there was and you're setting up WrestleMania, I know, again. But holy mackerel, I felt like they might as well have done like Kramer did in Seinfeld, brought out the fucking Merv Griffin show set, just set everybody down. The live interviews were interrupted by talk shows. Did you come away with this feeling, or was I just being overly sensitive?
Maybe you're being a little overly, I don't know if sensitive's the word, overly critical.
All right, well, let's go through everything and see what you think. And the first segment I thought was fantastic. Again, that's why I was talking about Cody. They did the Rumble package where Cody won it. Obviously, he makes his entrance. He's in a suit. He looks like a star, except for the thing on his neck. He looks like somebody. The fans are chanting Cody. The fans are chanting, you deserve it. But he also knows how to milk this stuff. And he has the promo and the delivery. And obviously, you can tell nobody wrote this for him because, well, if they did write it all down for him, it's all true anyway. He's telling people, he's a brilliant babyface in this environment because he's telling people the truth that they know to be true in the predominant portion of his promo. He talked about his career, 19-year-old Cody Rhodes pulling up to Ohio Valley Wrestling. Tomorrow's superstars today. I should have been a fucking Madison Avenue sales executive with these slogans. And he thought he'd be the champion in 2 years. He thought he was going to be the next John Cena. And then he runs through references, but they didn't belabor the point, but you recognize things, his bad gimmicks and his few triumphs and his peaks and valleys. And that's why this is where he fits, because if anything, in a program like this, Cody's drawback in AEW was he was overly polished and overly produced or trying to produce things, and he didn't have the program to back him up. whether it be the little camera shots or everybody else talent, regardless whether they were wrestlers, announcers, whoever the fuck, all hitting their things and playing their parts. He loves being on stage. Can you deny this?
I think it's his favorite thing in the world.
Yes. So he feels it. It's his story. He's delivering these promos. It didn't fit in AEW because he needs to be, it's the theatrical presentation. And then he cuts the promo on WrestleMania, and Roman put him over, but he closed with a vow to win this thing and accomplish his dream. He owns the ring. He's got the delivery and the inflection. And the important thing was he actually got his whole promo out and made the point and finished it and was letting that point sink in when he got interrupted. And this is especially on AEW, but a lot of times on this program or the WWE programs. So it feels like somebody's just been sent out there to start talking for a second so somebody else can come out and interrupt them. So they know they're obviously confident in Cody. They're continuing the exact story they started. They're giving him the push, and the people in their building are reacting to him. And they're not fucking cutting him off they cut him off in effect after he was already finished anyway, so they could do the business of this television program, but it wasn't at the expense of building the bigger story and making him look good. And then he wasn't attacked and beaten and cuffed about the head and face and fucking pissed on and had, fucking slime dropped on him or whatever. He was confronted by a bunch of heels in the entryway, and they did a back and forth promo, which was Judgment Day. And they were pissed because Cody ruined their Rumble plans, and Rhea won the women's Rumble, and old Dominic said he was supposed to win the men's Rumble. And did you notice? You watched this program, right? I'm not alone here.
I did. I watched it.
All right. Very good. Did you notice Dominic started his thing, and then Balor spoke? But when Balor spoke, Dominic came back in and answered a question that he hadn't been asked yet. And then Balor quickly asked, that's right, you got his mask or whatever the fuck. Guys, I know Dominic, he's had a lot of oomph, but this one wasn't one of his better ones because he seemed like he was transfixed being out there. He was not comfortable. Maybe it's shit they told him to say at last minute. I don't know. But a good hint for anybody doing live television as a wrestling talent of any kind is even if you think you know and you've gone over in the back what everybody's going to say, and this wasn't a big thing. Nobody really would have picked up on it but me. But it's a good teachable moment, as they say. Even if you've gone over everything you're going to say with everybody in the back, there's a high probability on live television and wrestling that somebody's either going to forget, branch off, think of something else, say something different. Don't go by what you prepared in the locker room as anything more than a guideline, and listen to what everybody says. Because I've seen guys put in some really stupid positions where they reacted to something that was insignificant when somebody just said something far greater. Like, well, I beat you last week, and by the way, your mother sucks donkey dicks. What do you mean you won that match? Anyway, so Priest sounds great. He's got a man's voice, and Cody talk to these guys without just freaking out and, fucking losing his shit because he's still got bigger fish to fry. But he said, hey, it's 62 days to WrestleMania. He can play it safe or he can kick any one of their asses tonight. And so we get Cody later on versus Balor. And it was a 14-minute promo. Cody's part alone about 10 minutes. The Judgment Day interaction a little because I think Dom needs a little more comfort level yet. But then they went to the announcers billboarding the show, and then suddenly they went back at Judgment Day still in the entrance, and Cody shaking hands like he's Stan and Steve in Memphis with the fans at ringside. And here comes Edge and just starts wailing the shit out of Judgment Day. And they have a big pull apart with the officials. And Cody jumps down and gets involved. And off they go to the break. Of course, that's always it. Whenever there's a sporting event going on, as soon as a riot breaks out, that's when they go to commercial. But this was a good opening segment, got everything across, I thought. What'd you think?
I thought it was a really good opening segment. I think they had to open with Cody, and I think not having someone run in there and do anything in the middle of the promo was the best thing they could have done. And it was telling there were a few moments where the crowd got quiet, and that's where it usually can go one way or the other. They could boo, or they could yell boring or something to dismiss the guy doing the promo, or they could listen and follow what he's saying and get ready to react to it. And that's the way they took to Cody here. I didn't mind the Judgment Day as much as you. Maybe it didn't have oomph.
Well, no, I'm not saying that I minded. And they needed to set the main event up and whatever. I'm saying maybe they could have come out a little more aggressive in the aisleway. I'm not saying jumping, but verbally aggressive. Got to the point a little quicker. Dom was kind of, I think he wasn't comfortable with everything, or he was overthinking or whatever.
And it almost works with him considering what his character is. But I liked it partly because, to me, it was a little bit of a surprise. I didn't expect a Cody Judgment Day confrontation here. So that, whenever you get something that's unexpected on WWE TV, you should embrace it. You should take it in. And that's the way I treated this. And, again, they were out there for a while. And then Edge, I guess this is going to be his new thing now. He's just going to charge at them and attack them every chance he gets.
Well, he's a vigilante.
But good opening. Good open to the show.
Beth Phoenix looks more like Valhalla than Valhalla does.
What's up with that hair? What's she doing with her hair?
Oh,
now?
but she just looks great. And how, I don't want to say this in a rude way, because how old is she now? Because she looks fantastic. But she was with us in OVW almost 20 years ago. Anyway, so then we come back to the entrance of Seth Franklin Rollins, and they're having qualifying matches to determine who goes to the Elimination Chamber, which is the February, can't even say pay-per-view anymore, February major premium live extravaganza, whatever they're calling them. And so, okay, I can buy that. Seth Franklin Rollins versus Chad Schuch. And that's first. Seriously, they've got Gable in a qualifier for the main event of a pay-per-view it's going to be the U.S. title, right? And so automatically they're just telling me it's just fucking TV fodder. So if you're going to, it's like a low-fat Twinkie. If you're going to have a competitive match for something, make sure that people can kind of half-ass question the outcome, or if you're going to just have a match to get one of your top guys over, have that, but don't try to make it both and then not show any of it. Because this is why the matches are unimportant. They ring the bell for this all-important qualifying match. They start it. They go between 60 and 90 seconds, and they go to the commercial. And when they come back from the 3.5-minute break or whatever it is, there's less than 4 minutes more of the match, and Rollins wins with his finish, pedigree. So, I could have bought Rollins beating Gable in 5 minutes of airtime in a match to get Rollins over, but who are you fooling? Trade Elimination Chamber qualifier. That's just another reason why people tune a lot of this stuff out when they don't deliver anything that sounds as grandiose as it is. And if you're going to have a 5-minute match or show 5 minutes of it on the air, don't have 3.5 minutes of commercial in the middle of it. You can't follow this. You can't get invested in it before it's gone. But we get 10 minutes of entrances and 20 minutes of fucking promos uninterrupted. See where I'm going with this?
I do. And again, who's going to win this match to be in the Elimination Chamber, but also, I don't know if we're in the minority or if it's half the fans, but for all the fans that reject the bad comedy and the stupidity, and Chad Gable's a talented guy, he showed that in the past, this gimmick is terrible. From the moment you hear the auto-tune shush, you could turn the channel. Yeah. And then you have Franklin Rollins, who when he's working with someone good and he's not on the mic as much, is a lot more enjoyable than when he's working with someone who you know the result, but also, I don't know, I'm still not over the fact that this character sucks. This gimmick sucks.
What is his nickname now? He's a visionary. Or a visionary, mercenary?
I don't know. I don't even know what you're talking about. What did he say?
No, it's on the screen and everything. That's what the announcers are calling him. He's got another nickname now. He's a visionary or a...
Now, it's probably a preemptive strike to prevent Jericho from copywriting.
Trademark it, yeah. Let's just use Rollins. He'll have a new nickname every week. We trademark all of them. Jericho will be out of business. That's their plan.
But I said it to you during the Royal Rumble when we got to the final 4 or 5, if you count Logan Paul, who was hiding, or wherever he was at that point. Rollins was the one that, again, he's a really talented in-ring worker, but I'm just so sick of him. And this character, you want to talk about a character that comes across fake. There's a way, he can't even fake laugh and make it sound good. Yeah, I'm telling you. It's just, what is he? He's like the Joker, but he's not the Joker. He's the Riddler, but he's not the Riddler. We go back to, he's acting like he's on PCP. I really can't stand the Seth Rollins character, and his promos are terrible, and they got to do something else with him. But again, perhaps I'm in the minority.
You could be a minor, but you could be of age. We don't know.
It's that voice. You don't want to hear that.
We'll talk about it later on, but even insulting Punk, he was doing the voice. And again, I go back to, okay, if your gimmick is going to be that you are somehow insane or offbeat or whatever, make people believe you really are. We just thought in the 70s, handsome Jimmy Valiant was just possibly he had taken so many drugs on tour with all the rock stars that had fried his brain. But wow, what a character. And we say that in the positive way of character, as in what a character, rather than he's got a character.
Just so you know, I have a list here. Seth Rollins and Seth freaking Rollins are his 2 official names. Also Seth Franklin Rollins. There's the Messiah, the Visionary, the Kingslayer, the Architect. And those are the ones, according to this website. As
he wanted to change his name to Bill Ding for that architect, but all right. Anyway, the next match. Oh my God! After now, by the way, we are. See, I'm referring to my notes here because by the time we have finished the code and we're 35 minutes almost into the show, and we've seen literally 5 minutes of actual wrestling on the air. So then we come up with Io Sky against Candy LeRae. And Candy was wearing fairy wings with her purple hair, doing a parade wave. She might weigh 95 pounds. Her work is the shits. She looks like every indie girl wrestler doing moves that she has practiced like a cheerleader instead of a competitive fighter, and she might work in AEW because of the indie darlingness of her. But for the WWE, again, what kind of photographs do her and her diminutive husband have of the upper executives, or is this their settlement from Vince? I'm wondering if Vince sexually bothered Gargano and Candy came in and beat him up for it.
I don't know about that.
I don't know, but this is when I get pissed that talent like the Briscoes were never on a big national television, or the WWE has botched so many guys with bad gimmicks, or the Max Dupree things of the world, or the whatever the fuck they've done to people. But we get 15 minutes of Candy LaRue.
The only one blander than her is her husband. It's amazing. I said this a long time ago, and I thought about it again watching Raw. That scene in Boogie Nights, the New Year's Eve party from 1980, where the guy shows up with the rather bland-looking kids who look like they need to shower or put makeup on, just something. Because these are the next stars. Meet boy, meet girl. That's this. You see all the other stars, and then it's Gargano and his wife who were just bland. Again, if you want someone to go run through the moves, Gargano could run through the moves without making any facial expressions, but he can kick out at 2 3/4, and that's what really counts, isn't it? And she's his wife, who was made famous by working with Joey Ryan over and over again on the indie scene. So I don't think anyone cares. I think.
But how do they?
I don't think anyone cares.
How do they get television constantly in the biggest company in the world?
They need to justify their women's division, and they can't just have the top people there be the division. And they fill the ranks with other people that fans don't care about, like Candice LaRue or whatever her name is. That her name, or is it LaRue?
What? Well, now you got me thinking.
Now I don't
what
remember.
Is it? It's all right. Moving forward,
please.
Let's go to the star of the women's division, because did you notice who came out at the top of the 9 o'clock hour Eastern time? Rhea Ripley is making her entrance. She's entering the ring. Not only did they put her over in the Rumble, they've got lots of faith in her. You can tell again by placement and by the fact that once again, she cut a promo that made a point and wasn't interrupted. And I can give you one reason why I believe that they are finally, well, I won't even say finally, they've been using her for quite some time, but that they've realized what they've got is because look at what she's done. You see the pictures of when she first came to NXT or whatever, she had blonde hair. She looked like every other blonde Barbie talent that they've signed over the past however many years.
No, she didn't. That's the interesting thing. She looked better. She was a knockout.
She was gorgeous, but that was part of the thing is they've had a bunch of gorgeous women over the last 20 years. But from that, she has slowly developed and changed not only her in-ring work, which is, as we've said, is so advanced for not only this level of her experience, but also for any of the women in the business, in any company. I'm not talking about fucking Chigusa Nagayo that can do the off-the-top backwards tombstone pile driver through the whatever. I'm talking about working. Her fucking professionalism and working has increased, but also she's changed her gimmick to something that's completely unique and looks totally different and looks like an action movie star. And she's developed her promo. She speaks well. She's got inflection. You know, and she referenced the last time that she faced Charlotte. It didn't go well a few years ago, but now it's going to be different. She's basically the future. And she got the point out and chose Charlotte for WrestleMania for her title match, and got the fucking promo out and made the point, and with no interruption, and it was done to get talent over. So this was a great interview segment, just like Cody's was. But however, we're establishing a pattern here over the course of the whole program. I don't know what of this delicious buffet you might have taken out, but anyway, what'd you think of our girl Rhea?
Good promo. I actually want to ask you more about the decision here, the booking decision. You have a babyface Charlotte. You have Rhea, who it'll be interesting if people will keep booing her if they start showing her more in actual action in the ring as opposed to just being with Dominic and causing trouble with the Judgment Day. Would you have gone with Rhea versus babyface Charlotte? You got to figure Rhea finally gets her big win over Charlotte at WrestleMania, or would you have gone with Rhea and Bianca Belair, the two young stars that came out of NXT at the same time?
No, that's part of the reason. Because Charlotte is established for a longer period of time, has been more decorated, and is technically I know every girl has their fans, and Bianca's got a lot of fans, and I'm not trying to insult anybody, but it's just a fact that Charlotte is established in the pecking order, both in the WWE office and in people's minds, as she's been on top longer. And if you're going for a passing of the torch type of thing, you can't do a lateral torch pass. Bianca's about the same level as Ripley in terms of experience, in terms of tenure in the company and whatever the fuck. So leave that open-ended. There's no bigger fan of Charlotte's work than me, and she absolutely positively does need to do the job for a heel Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania, because that kind of begins a passing of the torch to the newer generation, and then we can sort out in WrestleMania what's next year, 40 and 41 and 42. There's plenty of time for Ripley and Bianca when we haven't shot that. Charlotte's been working for I'm not saying she's ready to be put out to pasture in an iron lung, but
she doesn't need the belt.
She doesn't need the belt, and she's who knows, in a year or two that we might have that WrestleMania match with Ripley. If it wasn't this year, she might get injured again, or has she hit her athletic peak? Is now the time? Yeah, I don't want to say she ain't getting any younger. I mean, do that now. You've got more time for Ripley and Bianca. Don't answer that question before people are demanding it. But this will be a big step for Ripley. And also, I believe it'll be a better match because Charlotte's probably going to, not only is Rhea's work great, but Charlotte's probably going to lead it. And as long as there's no, outside the ring issues between them, they'll probably have a better match at this point than Rhea or Bianca would with each other.
I think it's going to be really interesting between now and WrestleMania if Charlotte could stay a babyface. I think that actually is going to be a tough thing to overcome, not even just in the match itself, but leading up to it. But with that said, just like we talked about with Cody, yeah, it seemed like the logical thing. Everyone thought, yeah, Cody has to win. And he did, and it was the right thing. You didn't have to swerve people. Same thing here, right? Rhea has to go over Charlotte after the previous.
Yes. And I mean, I'm not just talking about, just picking her up and throwing her down and fucking standing on her face 1, 2, 3. It can be, as long as it is a win, there can be, the heel or the babyface can always be screwed. And I think Charlotte will be a babyface, but people are going to get into Rhea as they already are, but they're not going to, I hope they wouldn't knee-jerk react to that by just, okay, well, we'll make her a babyface, blah, blah, blah. No, let them cheer the cool heel Rhea Ripley in that group, because Dominic is still going to fucking have some heat, because he's presented as a dislikable individual. So don't monkey with that right now. And Ripley can be a heel and beat Charlotte, but beat her in a heel fashion. It does a lot for Rhea. Charlotte has, is not the end of her career, and off we go.
All right.
Anyway, speaking of off we go, another Elimination Chamber qualifier. Maybe now I know why these matches aren't important. Baron Von Corbin with JBL against Johnny Sameface with Dexter Lumis in his corner. And a 1 foot and 75-pound size difference. It looked like a bald, tattooed up biker beating up a male cheerleader from middle school. And again, if these were just 5-minute job matches to get Baron Corbin over, fine. Or if they're going to have an Elimination Chamber qualifier, maybe we buy Johnny Sameface in the Elimination Chamber more than even Shush Gable, but still that makes it a joke. And these matches are competitive, but they still have a break in the middle, so that disrupts any flow they have. Again, when I was writing formats and or people I learned to write formats from, in Ring of Honor television, we only had an hour. So you're limited in terms of number of matches you can have anyway, and you're going to have to take a break if it's a long match. And so you want to give people a main event. And with Ring of Honor, a lot of times we'd start with a good match, two segments, and we'd end with 1-2 segments, and then fill in the middle with the interviews and what, matches we could. Or in OVW or in Smoky Mountain, I would often have 2 or even 3 segment main events. But you've got to establish somewhat that you're going to try to carry as much of the action as possible even with your commercial commitments, as any sporting event on television would. And yeah, they go to commercial into car races because you can't wait 5 hours or whatever. But the point is, you can always do things like get the entrances out of the way, have the introduction, and build the anticipation. And before we ring the bell, we've got to take a break. We'll be right back with the start of this contest. And that's another thing they don't do is pitch to the breaks. I hate being disoriented. They just assume that all of their viewers will know we didn't, even when we don't say anything, we just go to black. This match is still going on. Well, with this other screwy shit they do, maybe they don't all know. And they find something else to do in the break.
There were times during the Rumble I thought they were going to go to a commercial, and then I had to remember there are no commercials because they just, the way they set it up, he's on the floor and he's hurt. That's a commercial
on
break.
Television. That's normally where it goes to. What you try to do, I always try to, if we had to break up a match into 2 segments, the natural place to do it is the heat spot, where the babyface has got the people up as far as they can at this particular point, and suddenly the heel has cheated and jerked the rug out from under him, and the momentum has been changed, and people are, and that's when the announcer can say, oh my God, Brian Last has turned the tables on Jim Cornette. Cornette's in jeopardy, folks. Can he pull this thing out? We've got one more timeout. We'll take it. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Build the, oh my God, what's going to happen? Instead of, he's on the floor and now everybody's standing around.
Just the way they go to commercial. Gargano's hurt. Raw rolls on. What?
Yeah, Raw rolls on. Rolled right over the top of him. But, and sometimes with these break spots now, they're just, a backdrop. This match continues. What?
But sometimes when they just don't say anything, it's just, he's hurt and he's on the floor. And then commercial just out of nowhere. Hey, you and I have always disagreed about JBL, but I can't take anything away from his talent. That said, you tried to justify, I shouldn't say that. But you gave it a chance, the idea he was going to manage Corbin. Okay, I don't like Corbin. They're putting him with someone who's established, who could talk, who can get heat. If this is the way they're going to use Corbin, is it worth having JBL out there for this? And flying him into TV for this?
And that's for the first couple of weeks, they had JBL coming out and doing a minute or two to rile people up and then introducing Corbin. And that was good. But then, now he just comes out with Corbin and we're back to the fucking thing that Corbin looks physically, cosmetically ridiculous and has been uninteresting and or stupid and goofy in his presentation for so long that I just don't give a shit. So we're back to that. Who won this match? I forgot to watch.
Gargano.
What?
I believe so. I didn't watch the end of it either, but I saw a graphic later on for the Elimination Chamber.
Wait a minute. I thought this was just to get fucking Corbin into the Elimination Chamber. You mean his fucking same face?
Hold on. Baron Corbin. I'm going to look it up just to make sure.
Please. Yes, we can't put false information like that out. That would be accusing them of complete insanity and fiduciary irresponsibility to the stockholders.
Hold on, I'm trying to find this match. Baron Corbin versus him. Gargano defeated Baron Corbin in 9 minutes and 30 seconds to qualify for the Elimination Chamber.
Oh my God.
That's what I was saying. Why would you bring JBL in to manage this guy if this is how you're going to use him?
Remember at the top of the thing when I was talking about this, I said maybe I can believe same face in the Elimination Chamber a little more than Shoosh, but still it's ridiculous, and they did it.
I thought you knew that when you said that earlier.
No, I didn't watch this. They put him in with the grown folks in the main event of a fucking gimmick match. My God. That's like taking a fucking accountant from your local fucking IRS fucking, what was that goddamn tax service? H&R Block, your local accountant from the H&R Block office, and sending them to NASA to go up on the space shuttle. The fuck. All right. Well, they just had the most watched Royal Rumble ever. Amazing how that can happen when it's available to 20 million people for $5 a month on the cock instead of charging $50 for the pay-per-view.
You know, it was one of the most viewed, if not the most viewed, I guess that's what they said here, ever. How many people do you think listen to the Royal Rumble, or perhaps how many people do you think listen to something else during the Royal Rumble?
Oh, shit. We got commercials, don't we?
That's right, we do.
Well, son of a bitch, you know what? This time of year, everybody's talking about the changes. You know, the New Year's revolutions, the things you're promising yourself you're going to do. You're going to quit the bad habits. That's all well and good and everything, but most of the time, folks, I say again, bullshit. Unrealistic. Because small changes to your routine can make a big impact. You don't have to break the bank to make a big deal purchase. You can do small things, and it can be part of a big change if it's something you use every day. So you don't have to think glorious about how you're going to change the world, cure cancer. Just start out with a good pair of quality everyday earbuds from Raycon. Premium audio at the perfect price point. You can build your great habits off of that. Now, you can listen to music when you're working out. You're going to be in better shape. Or when you're walking, you're going to be in better shape. You're going to be happier. You're going to be breathing oxygen. Or you can have your own soundtrack to muffle out distracting noises that stress you out so you'll feel better mentally and physically. And now the Raycons, they got everything. The battery lasts all night. For heaven's sake, they start at half the price of the other premium audio brands. You don't have to choose between products. You can get one of each, whether they are the everyday earbuds or the low latency gaming headphones that I understand now that they have. And boy, they're low and latent. And they're headphones that game. So you don't have to choose because these things are priced so low, you get one of each of them. And you'd still pay less than you would with some of the other brands, charge you with the giant markups with these other people. And the Raycons, they offer buy now and pay later options. Every purchase has an easy and free return guarantee. And you know all the functions and all the features, the 3 customizable sound profiles. You got front, you got left side, you got right side, all profiles. The earbud tap functions, you can literally tap your earbuds and watch the juice pour out of them. And you got noise isolation when you want to go deaf, awareness mode when you want to achieve a higher state of consciousness.
You know, I think you might be reading all of these the wrong. Well, you're reading them right, but I think you may be interpreting all these things the wrong way.
Are you trying to pervert my interpretation?
No, I think your interpretation's perverted on its own. I'm trying to revert.
Well, thank you, doctor. The customized gel tips, they got the perfect, comfortable in-ear fit. The gel, watch out if you're near the equator. Once it gets up to about 140 degrees, that gel will melt right to your skin and provide an impenetrable seal.
Again, that's where you take it too far. There will be no melting of the gel that you have to worry about in your ear near the equator.
Unless you stick your head in an oven. Then you got bigger problems.
Don't do that. Just don't do that.
Might as well listen to some music if your head's in an oven. You know, here's the thing. A lot of people have falsely claimed that they stuck their heads in microwave ovens. But how did they get it to come on if the door wasn't closed? See?
Who's claimed that?
That's the way you can tell. Well, you've heard people tell those stories.
No, I have not.
You know, these Raycons have crystal clear call quality. Can you make phone calls with these things?
Well, you can make a phone call on your phone. You could answer it and have the earbud in your ear to listen to the phone call.
So you're listening to your earbuds. How can you hear what the guy on the phone is saying if you're still listening to your earbuds?
It's on your earbuds. Your earbuds picks up the transmission via Bluetooth. Bluetooth technology.
Well, I went to the dentist and he told me that had to come out. The one that I had that was blue. It was turning black, but it was still blue.
We were going so well, and then...
Nevertheless, so you can hear the guy talking to you on the telephone in your earbuds. Well, see, I thought I was just hearing voices. I called, made an appointment with the doctor and everything. Son of a bitch. Also, they're water and sweat resistant. So no matter how nervous you get, you're sweating, you're shaking like a dog shitting peach seeds, you're still not going to be electrocuted. And if you can dunk your head in any body of water or bucket of water, you can go underwater in the bathtub or the hot tub or whatever, because they're water and sweat resistant. Of course, now,
do you go
come back
in
eventually?
A hot tub? Do you go underwater? Do you go underwater in a hot tub?
Well, it depends on whether it's bubbling or not. You know, if it's just sitting there, well, I don't put my head underwater anyway, but I can see how people would. But if you goddamn go underwater when all those jets are on, fuck, it's just bend over sometime when those jets are on. If you're naked, you'll get water up any kind of orifice that you fucking leave exposed for long. So I wouldn't recommend that.
What do you mean you wouldn't put your head underwater?
I don't put my head underwater. I mean, my eyes, my nose, and my ears, no.
Are you talking about in a pool or like in the shower?
Anything. Well, a shower is not technically underwater. The water is fucking falling all over. Wait, hold on. Before we get back to that, right now, go to buyraycon, BUYRAYCON.com/JCE, and you're going to get 15% off your Raycon order. That's buyraycon.com/JCE, 15% off anything you get off of buyraycon.com. That's with the /JCE. But back to the shower. The water is coming over the top of your head and falling on past. It's not a body of water that you are submerging yourself in. So, but no, I don't open my eyes underwater. I don't get my ears underwater.
When was the last time your head was underwater?
Probably 35 years ago. Last time I would have jumped into a swimming pool and momentarily dunked before I came back up.
What caused you
to... I don't like that anyway.
Okay, well, I was going to say, what caused you to
Because I don't like getting water in my ears.
What about earplugs?
I don't like
earbuds.
I don't like having things in my ears.
Other than Raycon earbuds.
Other than Raycon. But I'm talking like a plug. If you put a plug in your ear, you're just going to push earwax all the way back into your brain.
Well, clean your ears. Don't have earwax everywhere.
Well, goddamn, if I'm not underwater, how can I clean them out? See, it's a catch-22.
How do you feel about Q-tips? Do you use Q-tips to clean your ears?
I use Q-tips gently, yes. You don't shove it all the way in. Just like the Raycons. You just put them in you don't have to shove them. They're slick. Every once in a while, you can lubricate them. Got some, butt plug lube or something. It might make them easier. But
I wouldn't do that. Don't use lube on anything you're putting inside your ear, let alone whatever lube he's talking about. I had a follow-up question, but now that's gone.
Well, the point is, and I don't open my eyes underwater. I don't want water in my ears. I don't want water up my nose, and I don't want water in my eyes.
You can wear goggles.
Oh, that just looks foolish.
I mean, it looks foolish. You're underwater. Who's looking at you?
I'm not going to be underwater because even if my goddamn, how can you get your eyes underwater when your nose and your ears aren't underwater? What am I, standing on my fucking head being lowered by a goddamn rope?
The nose is the easiest thing to control because if you're not sucking in water through your nose, it's not going to really just pour into your nose.
I don't want to give it the opportunity.
And you can pinch it if you really were worried about it.
If I pinch it, it'll bleed. I'm susceptible, I'll have you know.
I'm trying. I'll take your word for it.
What fucking glorious thing am I missing out on in life by not dunking my head in a bucket of water? What am I depriving of myself here? That I don't fucking stick my head underwater.
Well, swimming is wonderful. It's a wonderful thing to do.
Actually, you can swim without putting your head underwater.
You can't really swim. You have to go under the water. You have to move and groove under the water.
I'm going to swim across a fucking pool from one side to the other. I've got time. If I was in a hurry, I wouldn't be in the fucking swimming pool.
How are you going to swim from one side to the other without getting your head under the water?
I do it all the time.
How? All the time? Where?
All the time. I used to whenever I was in a hotel pool. Well, you lean on your back and you because I'm a good floater and I get on my back and I do the little strokes with my arms, and I'd kick my feet. I just kick my feet up, baby. And I can propel myself across on my back, and then I can go forward if I've got my feet out and I'm kicking my feet. And I'm doing the breaststroke thing with my head up, kind of like a little dog paddle.
All right.
I can get anywhere I need to go in a swimming pool without putting my head underwater.
But you can get there faster underwater.
Again, why am I in a hurry?
Well, I mean, sometimes it's
relaxing
fun.
Recreation.
Well,
What
no.
am I going to... I'm trying to fucking take Mark Spitz's spot on the fucking U.S. Olympic team?
Well, you may
Johnny
wanna...
Weissmuller is going to be disappointed in me?
Well, he's dead. But you may want to work out in the pool, and sometimes it's fun to just see how fast you can go from one side of the pool to the other underwater the whole time.
No, it's not.
No, it is fun. I've done it. You haven't done it. It's fun.
I don't have any urge to do that. That's not something I would consider fun. That's something I would consider intentional, almost drowning.
Someone takes something you care about, they throw it into the center of the pool. You have to jump in the water to get over there to get it. What do?
I grab them, I throw them in the fucking pool. I won't let them out of the water until they bring me my shit back.
When they pushed you in the pool at Vince's house, what happened?
That would be the last time my head went underwater. That was 1996. I fucking come out and went, hey, what the fuck? And proceeded to fucking float over, actually back on my back. I backstroked over the edge and climbed out. And what the fuck? And then...
See, that's the best part. Not that they pushed you in and then you just, God damn it, you swam right to the edge and popped out. You had to slowly backstroke out of the pool.
I backstroked out of it, and then I got up, and then Vince gave me a pair of sweatpants and a T-shirt that he had in the house that was dry, and gave me an old coat of his that was 3 sizes too big because he has arms like 6 inches longer than mine, and he was a tall man. But it was a designer coat worth like $500. He said, here, if I can take this home, I don't ever wear it.
They say that when a bloody Dynamite Kid showed up at his locker room in '88, he said, I can't believe you didn't go down. Is that what he said to you? I can't believe you didn't go under the water. And then in front of him and Pat, you just slowly backstroke right out.
I was out real quick. I went under for a second, but I was out real quick.
All right, we're talking about Raycon.
No, I finished that a while ago.
Oh, did we?
Came back. Yeah.
Well,
remember?
Let's remind the listeners.
Buyraycon.com/JCE is how you get 15% off. I said that several times. And then we went back to your delusions about me trying to drown myself.
Well, it is my show.
Well, I wouldn't dream of getting in the way of your show then, so do it.
Well, let's return to someone else's show. Vince McMahon's show, it turns out.
So now you want me to do something else?
Well, we have to finish what you started. You don't want to be considered a quitter.
Come on, baby, finish what you started. It's incomplete. The VIP lounge with MVP was up next. And again, a pattern is developing. None of these things is bad in and of themselves, but here now we've got an interview. We've got a talk show in the middle of the interview segments. But here comes MVP, by the way, is dressed up as he always is. He looks good. They've got the couches in the ring. It is the Merv Griffin show set. Actually, it looks better. They spent more money on it. And he introduces Austin Theory, and here comes Theory out. He's not wearing a suit, but he's wearing fashionable clothes that the young folks wear these days. Everybody on this program, they're making an effort to portray them as a star, sometimes even if there's not a lot of content to the person they're trying to portray, but the good ones shine through. And Theory comes in, and they're automatically doing the friendly adversary thing, where MVP's kind of rolling his eyes at Theory's snobbishness and arrogance and pomposity. And, Theory, I used to watch the MVP or the VIP lounge when I was a little kid. But now I'm here to make it and you relevant again. We ought to get rid of the VIP lounge and call it the VIP lounge with Austin Theory live or whatever. And, of course, MVP says after the Elimination Chamber, Austin Theory may not be live. And, again, this was better than the matches that they've shown us. But it started getting long at this point, I think, in the show that everybody's talking. And this was a little, they made their point and then sat a while and stewed on it. finally MVP took up a little bit for Lashley, and Theory threatened MVP and says, Brock's going to end Lashley. And then, of course, Lashley music. And he comes out and beats up Theory, but at least this time, as he turned over the couches and shit and was trying to get room for the execution of the spear. And when MVP used his cane to kind of pick Theory up, like here he is, right at the last second, Theory pulls MVP in front of Lashley, and Lashley spears MVP. So that was a miscue. And there was a good ending. There wasn't anything wrong with this interview segment either, except I said they may have gone a little bit long with the friendly verbal jousting. But there's a lot of talk here so far. Your thoughts?
I agree this went a little long, although everyone did a good job. Well, MVP and Theory did a really good job in their talking. Lashley to me is missing something. They never should have broken him up with MVP, but I can't keep saying that even though I do. But he's missing something, and
he's not a natural baby face when he had the group and the manager and the heelish demeanor and etc. You could build his incredible physical properties. But as a babyface and talking for himself, and when he didn't like Brock. When Brock would come out and destroy a ring full of furniture and stuff like that, you would see he was enjoying it. There was glee in his face as he's wrecking shit. That's the charisma, the magnetism of the personality that draws people into liking it. You can send some schlub, and I'm not saying Lashley is a schlub, but you can send some schlub out to throw furniture out of the ring and nobody gives a shit. With Bobby, he was doing it, and he's impressive doing it because he's big, but he wasn't doing it out of he's lost his mind. He's either not sadistically laughing about it or fucking ragingly mad. He's just doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there we go.
But other than that, Theory showing more and more confidence on the mic. Swami barking at Amazon, but Theory showing more and more confidence on the mic.
Are you sure Theory wasn't barking at Amazon and Swami's more confident?
I'm not sure. Swami definitely has an abundance of confidence.
So the next thing we saw on the program was Miz in the ring in a suit for a long promo, complaining about all the things that he's been screwed around about lately. And then Adam Pearce comes out and says, well, you're always wanting opportunities at this and that. Well, I've got somebody that wants an opportunity. It's been in my office all day. And here he is. And I'm thinking, okay, Rick Boogs. Oh, my God. This was the guy that was the annoying sidekick of one of the
Nakamura.
And I guess he's been hurt, but he had an annoying gimmick before, and now he comes out to the screeching entrance music, playing not only air guitar, but also air drums, bopping back and forth between, he's going to shake his head to the point where he gives himself an aneurysm, and he's on his knees playing the air drums, and he's out playing the air guitar. He's got Ultimate Warrior tassels on his boots. And he wants to wrestle Miz. Pierce wants him to wrestle Miz. Miz wearing a $10,000 suit. And he can't wrestle. And I wrote, he can't wrestle and I can't watch it. And as I was going to hit the button, basically old Boogs beat Miz up for 30 seconds and fucking pinned him with a pretty stiff fucking looking power slam. So apparently now Miz's gimmick is they're just going to have people come in out of the crowd and just beat him up and beat him, which I can't argue with. That's the right place for him. But again, promo segment followed by interruption, challenge, and 30-second, not even match. Just, the guys, all right. I understand they say this Booger fella is a great athlete. And I bet you we'd care if they'd ever presented him as anything other than a complete fucking imbecile. What do you think?
I just looked him up. Rick Boogs, his real name is Eric Bugenhagen. Amateur wrestling career. Wrestled for the NCAA Division I University of Wisconsin team. Trying to see if he's not laid out well here. But he's a legitimate athlete, as well as apparently here it says comedy, weight training, fitness,
comedy,
and mindset.
Mindset? What? Was that Chris Angel's magic show? No, that was Mind Freak.
These are his genres.
He wanted to call it Mind Fuck, but they probably wouldn't let him. Okay, this guy's been in the wrestling business 2 or 3 years. We've been seeing him. Compare that, similar background, similar size, with what Bill Watts and Dusty Rhodes did with Rick Steiner. 2-3 years into Rick Steiner's career, he's pretty much almost a main event guy in WCW by that point, and he's over like crazy, and this fucking guy is,
Someone's going to say you're complaining about him because he's goofy. Who is goofier than Rick Steiner?
But the problem there lies in that Rick Steiner was basically a badass mental incompetent that was goofy for real, but could also kill you with his bare hands and could work his fucking ass off. He didn't go around doing purposeful comedy skits or fucking acting like a goddamn deranged maniac playing musical instruments that aren't there. And he beat people. And he looked good doing it. That's some of the differences. And he had personality that was allowed to be seen.
Well, we'll see what happens with Rick Boogs.
You know what was next?
I don't know.
An in-ring promo with Bayley. And at this point, I'm like, what in God's name? And again, she can talk. Of all the girls, she's one of the better ones. But I zoned out until here came Becky Lynch to interrupt. And she's, of course, mad about the cancellation of the cage match because she was attacked and, didn't get the cage match she wanted. So she's trying to get it from Bayley. And finally, she's, hold on. And she goes back in the entranceway and drags Dakota Sky out on her fucking ass.
Dakota Kai. Let me just correct you, because you said this on the other show and a bunch of people sent emails to the Drive Thru. Apparently, Dakota Sky is a deceased porn star. So let's just clarify, different person.
I didn't even know she was sick.
I didn't even know there was a porn star named Dakota Sky, to be honest with you. So, but a lot of people, a surprising amount of people got in touch after the Royal Rumble review to correct us on that.
So which one was this that got drug out here? Dakota
Kai.
Well, Dakota Kai got drug. Looked like she fell from the sky because she was out of it. And Becky threatened to Pillmanize her leg, had her chair on her leg, and then she picked up the chair and she was just going to Paul Bunyan or cave her skull in until Bayley accepted a deal to have the cage match next week. And so Bayley said, okay, have we not seen this lately? Somewhere it seems like we have. They pull out, well, here, I'm going to kill this fucking person unless you say okay. But that lasted a few minutes. What'd you think?
It's all right, I guess. I really liked Becky Lynch before she went back to just being the man exactly how she was a few years ago. I kind of was getting into the metamorphosis of
big time Bex.
Yeah. And now it's just like, oh, I'm back to doing what I was doing.
Well, because Flair's not mad anymore. Right?
I guess.
So they can do all the, I don't know. Anyway, so I bet you're thinking, were there any matches on this program? Well, we're about to talk about one because coming up, it was Dolph Ziggler against Bronson Reed. And again, I'm okay. Remember Bronson Reed? I'm a fan. Modern day Crusher Blackwell. Big guy does that great convincing splash. And Dolph Ziggler, I've been a fan of. What amazing, just animated worker. And he can get something out of most anything. And obviously, I'm thinking his job here, because they've been using him to do jobs and send him to NXT to lead some of those guys. Dolph is going to get Bronson Reed over like a monster here. And I'm fully confident that he could do that, except this thing didn't go 2 minutes. I mean, he put Bronson Reed over with a splash off the top 1, 2, 3, but it wasn't like he had this great match with him to make him, he looked like a beast, but there wasn't much to this. And I'm thinking they are featuring Otis and Shoosh Boy on this television program, and they use Ziggler like this. When if they just said, Dolph, you're a veteran. You can do almost everything. You got 10 minutes. Make this guy a fucking monster and fucking, let's see what he's got. Let's get him ready for some main event. Or just, this is the squash match that I was wanting out of Gable and Gargano. But a guy that can go, we don't see him. So there's 2 minutes of wrestling. So now wait a minute. Let's go back to the start. Rollins and Shoosh Boy got 4 minutes of their match on the air. I don't know how long Io. Now, what's her name? Io Kai?
No, she's Io Sky.
Io Sky and Candy LaRue.
What did she used to be?
She used to be Are You Blue? I don't know. But
she's a different last name.
I don't know how long that went, but it wasn't wrestling. Corbin and Same Face, that wasn't long. And now we get 2 minutes of Dolph and Bronson Reed. All right, and now it's time for the main event. So, and the main event, Cody and Balor, our least favorite Judgment Day member. I'm sorry to be so hard on him, but he doesn't fit. He's like the fucking kid running around that doesn't fit in that group. But this main event that they set up in the opening segment in a 3-hour program, by the time they get in the ring and ring the bell, we're 15 minutes till the end of the program. They blew off so much pyro, the smoke looked like they were wrestling in a fucking fog bank off the coast of San Francisco. And they went 1 minute and went to the break when they just got started. And again, that's another way you can tell Vince McMahon was not at Raw, by the way, though, that pyro smoke in the building. You would have heard him screaming from the gorilla position. I remember one time when Raw was still doing small buildings in the 90s, and we went, I can't remember where it was, but it was a smaller building, and they blew off when they'd started doing pyro, and it was in its elementary stages. They blew off so much shit. The boys couldn't find each other. It was live TV, and the boys couldn't look across the ring and see each other. And Vince, I've never seen his face, his eyes. He looked like the Mr. McMahon gimmick. God damn it. And they were sending building people to open fucking garage doors at the back of the building and try to fucking get a breeze in there. He was fucking hot. Anyway, back to what apparently was a match. We just didn't see much of it. We came back from the break after seeing a minute of the match, and Balor had started some heat on Cody. And then Cody apparently realizing, because Cody's he's so smart. I guarantee you he looked at the TV format. He saw what they were slotted for or the time, and possibly they cut the time on this as the show went on. I don't know. But he did a deal where in this middle segment, because they're about to go to another break, he made a bit of a comeback, did a deal where he ducked Priest and dumped him over the rail and beat up Dominic on the floor, got back in with Balor, and Balor stopped him again, and they went to another break. So every time, that was in 3 minutes. So every time that they're on the air, Cody's doing something to try to hook the people and keep the people involved in this thing, right? But now they've started the match, went to break in a minute, come back after 3.5 minutes. We get 3 minutes of action. They go back to the fucking break. And they came back from that break with 5 minutes left on the air. We had seen 4 minutes of the main event. And Cody, boom, then ends up down on the floor, and the rest of the Judgment Day, Rhea and Priest and Dominic are menacing him. And suddenly Edge comes down to the ring. He gets the big fight with Priest and Dominic, and Beth spears Ripley, and there's chaos going on. And Balor misses a double stomp off the top, and Cody hit 3 crossroads in a row, 1, 2, 3. With 2 minutes left on the air to replay the way that Cody won and see him celebrating, which is what you're supposed to do instead of AEW where they go off the air 10 seconds maybe after the fucking finish. But as a result of that, we literally saw like 7 minutes maybe of in-ring competition on the main event of this program. So, and it was the right finish. They did the right thing, and it was exciting at the end. But that's why people are tuning these fucking matches out, because they have marginalized and made them unimportant. And also a 3-hour slog where everybody's talking. This was the only Raw I've seen in a long time where they actually had 3 or 4 good live interviews. But how much can you listen to with nothing going on? What do you think?
It is amazing how much talking there is and how little wrestling. We just watched a pay-per-view and it was predominantly all wrestling. Although, I mean, well, I should say all action in the ring. I don't know if I would say all wrestling, but that's what it was. AEW, you get a lot of matches, very short promos in and out. Only a few guys get time to do in-ring promos in front of that crowd.
It's almost like if somebody had the in-between promotion where you could actually see some wrestling and some promos and not be worn out on either one of them. I don't know. Call me crazy.
I know they have to fill up time, but it's almost like they're trying to justify to themselves the need for scripts and writers.
I've said that for a long time. They've gotten into a habit, a habitual pattern of the way that things have. They've drawn from the glory years of the big ratings when Vince insisted that we start with something strong with stars that's going to have a thread through the program and lead to the main event, and that at the top of the hours you have somebody of some import coming to the ring or in the ring to do something or whatever the case. But now they've showbizzed it up and scripted it up to the point where it all just like it's the same thing every fucking week. People come out and talk. Someone interrupts them. They make a match. They go to the blah, blah, blah. They have 2 or 3 things they do through the whole program every week. And the matches become the most disposable of all of those things.
Well, to look at just this show, and we could talk about its ratings actually in a second, but to look at this show and to tie everything together here at the end and that last match, the show opened with Cody Rhodes doing a promo. The show ended with Cody Rhodes versus Finn Balor. He just won the Rumble. It's his first TV back. What are your thoughts on the usage of Cody Rhodes here?
Well, that's been, like I said, pretty brilliant because, again, I think their audience, the AEW audience, is mad because Cody jumped the, not the sinking ship, but the chaotic ship, because he went to the big show to do what he had wanted to do before when he had the chance. The chance became available. But this audience is taking to him, and it's something different for them because AEW has guys coming out and telling the truth every week, whether it's on their show or their press scrums or whatever. Sometimes the truth is provocative, and sometimes the truth is just as boring as they are. But you almost never get any genuineness, realism in the WWE, and they see, here's Cody. They know who his father was. They know the story. He's telling his story. He comes off, as I said, real because it's his story, and he's the showman, and it works. So, and he should be the first thing they see on the Raw after the Rumble, and he should be the last thing that they see somebody winning something at the end of the show. That's the way you get a star over. So this they're doing fine. And again, there wasn't a lot wrong with most of these interview segments. The Miz, but my God,
he's okay.
All right.
At least he wore a suit. At least he wore a suit.
give us something else besides, Dakota or Io Kai and the Purple Pixie if you're going to short us on wrestling for the rest of the program. That's my thought. What were the ratings for this broadcast? And that, because we've asked this before also, and I don't know why we haven't done this before. We know it's a 3-hour program, and ever since they started 3 hours, there is attrition in hour 3 from people just either burning out on it or you're fighting sleep as you go toward 11 o'clock. But in the old days, in the popular days when the program had high viewership, we gained toward the end because the main event was Undertaker, Austin, Rock, Triple H, Foley, whatever the case. AEW's pattern has been that they lose a large chunk of what they start with. WWE doesn't normally lose that big of a percentage. Where were they at on Raw?
Well, let's talk about the ratings for Raw. We get a lot of requests because we do talk about the ratings for Dynamite to do a comparison and also show the other side, so we'll do that here. These were compiled by Brandon Thurston from WrestleNomics. Raw's overall rating was 2,114,000 viewers. Segment 1, which was Cody Rhodes' promo interrupted by the Judgment Day, 2,307,000 viewers.
Okay. So they start off pretty straight. What is their lead-in?
I was about to ask you if you knew. What's the lead-in for Raw?
I don't know.
Is it like Law and Order or CSI?
Crime and Punishment?
Yeah, one of those shows.
I have no idea, but we got to investigate this further. But go ahead.
Segment 2, 8:15 to 8:30. The continuation of the segment from before with Cody Rhodes, the Judgment Day. Edge comes in. Also, Seth Rollins versus Chad Gable, including picture-in-picture. 2,175,000 viewers.
Okay, so again, I think they hung out for probably the end of that promo and then saw Shoosh Boy come into the ring and said, all right, we can make a sandwich or do whatever.
Segment 3, 8:30 to 8:45 p.m. The final several minutes of Rollins versus Gable, as well as Candice LeRae versus Io Sky and picture-in-picture. 2,218,000 viewers.
And they came back when they got rid of Gable. So again, we're in a range of 130,000 viewers, which is somewhere, just math off the top of my head, around 7 or 7.5% of the audience. So this is kind of normal fluctuation.
Segment 4, 8:45 to 9 p.m. Candice LeRae versus Io Sky with another picture-in-picture, as well as, it says here, recap. I don't know what was recapped. 2,177,000 viewers.
And they went right back to where they were in quarter 2. So, but again, same range, same fluctuation.
The 9 o'clock hour, 9 o'clock to 9:15, segment 5.
And that's where Rhea Ripley was in the ring.
That's right, Rhea Ripley live promo, as well as Seth Rollins' backstage promo. 2,259,000 viewers.
So they picked up 82,000 at the top of the hour with that strategy.
And the way I see it, more than 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock is where you got to hook people so they'll be there at the end.
Yeah. And also 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock to some extent, but 9 o'clock, the homes using television level is still higher. So when there's switching around, that's why the theory is you want somebody important or something interesting going on to, if somebody checks in, well, let's see what the fuck. Oh, shit, there's The Rock. I won't go any further. If they tune in to see Johnny Sameface, they go, well, let me see what's on the fucking Turner Classic or whatever.
Well, speaking of which, segment 6, 9:15 to 9:30 p.m., Johnny Gargano versus Baron Corbin, including picture-in-picture. 2,162,000 viewers.
So they dropped 97,000 on Sameface.
Segment 7, 9:30.
And by the way, that's the first time they've broken the range they were in for the first hour. They're 13,000 lower than the quarter two.
Segment 7, 9:30 to 9:45 p.m. MVP's VIP Lounge with Austin Theory, as well as Bobby Lashley coming in there, and a Finn Balor backstage promo, 2,189,000 viewers.
They get some names in, they get another 27,000 people.
Segment 8, 9:45 to 10 p.m. The Miz's live promo, as well as him versus Rick Boogs. The Maximum Male Models backstage angle with Alpha Academy.
I was fast forwarding.
Maybe other people were too. 2,062,000 viewers.
Ooh, so now they've lost another 127,000, and they are, they're 245,000 below where they started. They put the job squad in. All right.
Well, segment 9, the 10 o'clock hour, 10 o'clock to 10:15 p.m. Becky Lynch and Bayley's promo battle, as well as Dakota Kai getting beat up. 2,080,000 viewers.
A slight fluctuation there, 18,000 different. So that's the second hour, and we start the third hour.
Segment, I believe this would be 10:15 to 10:30 p.m. Adam Pearce's backstage promo and Dolph Ziggler versus Bronson Reed. 1,973,000 viewers.
Ooh. See, this is where fatigue would start to set in, and even if you want to see the main event, you know it's going to be a while. But that's the first time they've dropped below 2 million in 2 hours.
Segment 11, 10:30 to 10:45 p.m. Asuka and Carmella's backstage angle, as well as Boogs, Elias, and Street Profits backstage angle.
Yeah, I skipped all that shit.
And Balor versus Cody Rhodes starting. 1,885,000 viewers. And finally...
No, wait a minute. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, I'm sorry. Hold on. Where'd I put my... that's what happened. I grouped that in there with that. And that's with that. So, yes. So now, the last quarter 12.
Quarter 12, 10:45 to 11 p.m. The main event, which started in the previous segment, Finn Balor versus Cody Rhodes. 1,880,000 viewers.
So that's interesting. Basically, whoever hung out for the main event stayed with it. There was 5,000 people difference out of almost 2 million in quarters 11 and 12, so they didn't tune it out. So AEW does not have, WWE does not have that, at least in this instance, like AEW has, where they just continue to plummet toward the end. But at the same time, you can see that they'd be so much better off, besides for the rights fee, if this was a 2-hour program. They were not below 2 million people one time in the first 2 hours, and then they still only lost from start of hour 3 to finish of hour 3. They lost exactly 200,000 viewers, which is basically 10% of what they started with. And in AEW, it's more like 30 or 30 or 25 or 30 or 35%, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
If you start out a show hot with Cody doing that promo, and you know you're more than likely going to have more viewers there than maybe anywhere else in the show, just because of the lead-in and everything else. And the main event's not going to start until 10:45-ish. Should there be something done at 9 o'clock where you have people checking out the show? Not just a recap, but should there be a fresh angle or promo or something that applies to what started earlier and what will finish at the end, just to draw people in who are just coming?
Yeah, well, remember, they used to do that. Again, there would be some... Here's part of the problem is, if back in the Attitude Era that everybody looks back fondly at, the thing that they would do to freshen up the statement that, and of course it wasn't 3 hours then, but the statement that was made in the match that was made at the beginning, in between the main event, there'd be somebody be attacked in the parking garage or in the locker room. Well, they can't do that anymore because they do it every fucking week, multiple times. Or some event would happen where a guy was going in with a handicap. Well, that happens constantly. They've shot themselves in the foot with doing everything they used to do all the time with everybody, regardless of their import on the roster, to the point where they, and so they just flow shit. If somebody's out there, we'll let them just naturally flow into something else and we'll end this thing sooner or later. And yeah, so in 3 hours, people, if they weren't there at the start, and of course there were more people watching the start of the program than there were at the start of the third hour, but maybe there were still some different ones. See, yeah, you're right, but there's how many different ways can you do the same thing they've been doing for 20 fucking years? Sometimes you just got to make the matches real important, and you could, instead of all the constant talking that the writers write for people who can pull it off in varying degrees of success, maybe they ought to just go back for locker room interviews where a guy gets 2 minutes to fucking fire people up about what he's going to do in an hour and a half. But I don't know.
Well, certainly I think a lot of people would agree that Raw needs a renovation. But I think I could speak for a lot of the listeners where a lot of people need renovations in their own home. Forget about on their Monday Night Wrestling program.
They might need renovations in their own home, or they might need renovations in somebody else's home. Let's say you go to visit somebody quite often and they got a shithole and you're not comfortable. You might want to go in there and fix some things up the way you like it. Regardless, Brian, nobody talks more about home remodeling and renovation and repair and et cetera than you and I do. Over the past 5 years, you've renovated your old house and then sold it and got a bigger house, and now you're starting from scratch. And I'm constantly adding on to the castle, never subtract, always add on, changing shit. Remember last year I had walls down, taken out. 2 whole rooms renovated over the last year. They're almost finished there. But now, with the new information I've got, this year I may take 3 walls out of my house. I can't wait to see what we're going to do this year, because now our new friends at West Shore Home have come on board with the program here. They're the fastest growing shower and bath remodeling company in the United States. Have you seen these TV commercials? You're up there in an enclave in New Jersey. I don't think they've gotten to the northern part of the state yet, but the TV commercials are all over the place, and this is a slick operation they got here. They will fully replace your old shower or bathtub in just 1 day. And they even show you how they do it with the time-lapse photography. It's amazing. What you do is you schedule a free in-home remodeling review, and they come to your house, and they'll make it convenient for you. They do mornings, afternoons, evenings, weekends. One guy showed up at 4 o'clock in the morning, carrying a fucking bathtub on his back.
That wasn't West Shore Home. I'm sorry.
Was that just a itinerant midnight to 6 a.m. door-to-door bathtub salesman?
That was North Shore Dave, not West Shore Home.
Oh, shit, that's the problem. Well, don't open the door if they come at 4 a.m., folks, but they will bring their design consultant, and you get to build your dream shower or bath just the way you want it. They've got laser-etched designs, built-in seats, shelves, doors, windows, magnetic shower heads. You can take these magnetic shower heads, stick them on anything. Go down the street, stick them on a stop sign. Guy pulls up next to it, fucking whole car gets washed. It's amazing.
Yeah, don't do that.
Well, then a couple of days after they design all this, the remodeling professionals do a 1-day bath replacement that's fast, easy, and convenient. Actually, it's fast, easy, and convenient for you, the customer. For them, it's a pain in the ass because they're specialists, and they got to get in there and get out of there with whatever they run into in the allotted time. So it's a pain in their ass, but you don't care. They take out the old shower bath, they install the new one, they do the cleanup. It can be ready to use before dinner. So whatever kind of dinner you're going to have that you prepare in a fucking bathtub, you're going to be able to do it that same night, and you don't have to lift a finger.
You can make vodka in a bathtub.
Well, gin is recommended, unless it's a Russian-made bathtub.
Well, there you go.
Generally, you make gin in a bathtub.
Or vodka. You can make vodka in a bathtub.
You can, but it's not recommended.
It's not recommended to make gin in a bath. Who recommends that?
Well, it's a fine accompaniment to making meth under your fucking kitchen sink, but nevertheless, West Shore Homes is going to fix your bathroom up to where you're not going to want to do any of that stuff in your bathroom. You're going to be out doing the bathtub gin and making the meth out in the backyard or in the garage. Anyway, so I mentioned the fine folks at West Shore Home are going to do all this. And once again,
they're going to do well, let's just clarify. What are they going to do?
They're going to do what I just said. They're going to take out your old shower or bath. They're going to put you a brand new one in. It's state of the art.
Yes.
It's the space age technology. They're going to do it in one day. You're going to have it ready for you before dinner. That's what they're going to, and they're going to come out and they're going to show you what they're going to do before they do it. Kind of like Danny Hodge used to, when he would tell a guy how he was going to take him down, and then he'd take him down that way even though the guy knew it was coming. That's what they're going to do, just like that. And now more than ever, people around the country are going to be able to make these services available to themselves because West Shore Home is expanding. If you live in or around or in the vicinity of Louisville, Lexington, Cincinnati, Indianapolis, Pittsburgh, Harrisburg, Philadelphia, Baltimore, Richmond, Salisbury, Virginia Beach, Winston-Salem, Charlotte, Greenville, Asheville, Knoxville, Chattanooga, Charleston, Wilmington, Myrtle Beach, Greenville, New Bern, Columbia, Atlanta, Jacksonville, Orlando, Ocala, Tampa, Birmingham, Huntsville, Montgomery, Oklahoma City, Houston, Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, Phoenix, Denver, Colorado Springs, and Salt Lake City. I've been everywhere, man. That's right. I've been everywhere. It sounds like a Mid-South Wrestling booking sheet. If you are anywhere around those places, then you got to right now call West Shore Home. And they do windows and doors too. That's what I'm waiting for because I can't wait. See, I'm not going to have the windows taken out right now because it's cold outside. I'm waiting till it perks up a little bit. I'm doing interior stuff now. Then I'm going to do exterior stuff. But like I said, by the time the year is over, West Shore Home is going to dismantle my entire house, and they can do the same thing for you. Windows, doors, bathrooms. Good heaven. Bill, you ought to see the urinals they can put in also in the bathrooms. They're amazing.
The Dick the Bruiser Special, they call it.
The Dick the Bruiser Special, yes. And they've got flavored urinal cakes. So right now, check out their website to see which locations that you can request their free window and door remodeling preview. And again, happiness, just a phone call away. Check out promo.westshorehome.com/Jim and get the fastest, easiest, and most convenient home remodeling experience that you'll ever have. I'm so glad I found these people because the Monroe brothers, they may be on the unemployment line now that I've found the folks at West Shore Home. Again, promo.westshorehome, WESTSHORE home.com/Jim, and you'll figure it all out.
How do you think they're going to take to West Shore Home, the Monroe brothers? They're going to see them as competition? Are they going to embrace someone doing other repairs around Castle Cornette?
You know, here's the thing. The West Shore Home people, they don't dig holes out in the backyard. They just work on your home. So I'm just going to send the Monroes out to dig a big hole in the backyard. By the time they climb out of it, all the work will be done. WestShoreHome.com.
That's right, WestShoreHome.com. Jim, let's get some questions here on the show. A rarity.
I'm sure people have a lot of questions about this show already. Go ahead.
Well, there have been several people sending in several questions, I'm sure you can imagine. This has been a popular topic, so I'll read this question for everyone. This was sent to CornyDriveThru@gmail.com from Tony in Cleveland, Ohio. I hope all is well with you both. Let me read that again in English. I hope all is well with you both and your families.
Raw rolls on.
Raw rolls on. I saw a clip today of Seth talking to someone saying that CM Punk was a jerk and a cancer and telling him to stay away. Jim, I have some audio here. Let me play this for you.
Okay.
This is Nick Houseman who I must say, whenever there's a CM Punk
he gets
story,
around.
it's always about CM Punk, though. Right? He was the reporter that CM Punk talked to during the press conference. And now, here we go again. But here he is, does a good job, typically, with Seth Rollins.
Well, I know you're a Midwest boy with ROH roots. We don't know what's going on with CM Punk, but you guys have had some barn burners in WWE. Would you like to see Phil Brooks back in WWE?
Oh, Philly Phil, stay away. Stay away, you cancer. Get away from me forever.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I don't like Phil. I don't like Phil. He's a jerk. Oh, did we just figure that out? No, everybody in the room is like, oh no, dude, did he say that? Yeah, no, he's a jerk. Come on, we figured it out over there. We knew it over here. I don't want him back. Go do something else. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. See you later.
Well, I know you're a Midwest boy with ROH.
How do I stop this? There I go, I stopped it. And part of the story that you're not seeing here, Jim, is the outfit and the cowboy
No,
hat.
I've seen that clip. I saw that clip on the Twitter machine. And that's the thing. I guess now from what has been reported, he potentially is telling the truth. He doesn't like Punk, but it sounded so, with that voice he does and with whatever his gimmick is, as we've said, we don't understand what it is. Is he Nicholson, the Joker? Is it, what the fuck's going on?
It's like the fucking nanny. He sounds like the nanny cutting a promo on CM Punk.
Fran Drescher.
You cancer, stay away.
So it sounded like he was mocking the people that say he's a cancer and he should stay away and everything because of the funny voice. So if that was supposed to be a burial of somebody, it wasn't a good one because everybody was still asking, well, does he really mean that or is he just saying that? Because it's so cartoony in such a way that, again, one would assume that he would know, Seth Franklin Rollins, that if Punk was to show up in that company, that probably he would be one of the first people he'd work with, and it would fucking draw mega attention. So I don't know if I'd be pissing Punk off before it even has a chance to happen. But like I said, I've heard people say, no, he really was telling the truth. He doesn't like him. But that was such a childish and comical cartoon way of saying it that it sounded more like a bad wrestling promo.
Plus the way he was dressed.
Well, plus he's standing there looking like he's plugged in the fucking wall socket. So,
like Waylon Jennings had another kid somewhere.
Made me look like I was constantly attending funerals everywhere I went when I was managing.
He's a cancer, not like my boss who fucks the employees. Stay away. Stay away. Stay away. Let us keep fucking everyone. Ah.
Well, there it is. Well, who do you think he sounds like? I mean, I said it really did remind me of the nanny before, Fran Drescher. There's a little bit of the Wicked Witch, I guess it's Seth Rollins' voice. Like, what do you think? How would you do an impersonation of him?
I don't, because it changes constantly, and it depends on how, much he's into it. But whether or not that he's also doing the dancing and gesticulating and fake laughing at the same time. But there was an element of, no, he's a cancer, stay away. Which sounds kind of like you said, Margaret Hamilton on helium.
Back to helium. Everything with you is helium.
Maybe there's the answer. At the start of the program, we should have realized that's how they gave Rollins this gimmick. They stuck a fucking helium hose up his ass. That's why he can't stop gyrating and float dancing and or talking like a normal human.
Well, Jim, let's get another question here. This one was sent to CornyDriveThru@gmail.com from Brian in Waldorf, Maryland. Recently, it was announced that AEW Fight Forever has been delayed again. Previous reports claimed that the game was releasing at the end of February after being pushed back from November of 2022. Matt Black of WrestleZone is reporting the game is being held up due to its rating. The article indicates that AEW wants to release the game as T for teen, but is struggling to receive the rating from the Entertainment and Software Board, which assigns video games their ratings in the United States.
What is this? Are they in Zurich, Switzerland, across the street from the International Fecal Standards Committee?
This is most likely due to the amount of blood shown in the game and the inclusion of intergender matches. I don't know if he's saying that because he knows that or if he's presuming
No,
that.
I've heard this, and I'm going to ask you, before you go any further, let me ask you for clarification, because I've seen reporting of this nature. I don't know if I saw this specific article, but and we'll talk about the blood and whatever in the video game in a second, but I didn't know they rated video games like movies. You know, it's not PG or R or whatever, but apparently there's ratings for kids and teens. There's video games that are actually rated for adults, that you're making a game, but a 17-year-old person can't buy it or play it, or is not supposed to, at least. Is this porn? What the fuck's going on?
No, but they're great games.
Fucking each other?
No, not really. I mean, sometimes in, GTA, but you don't really see anything. You just hear some noises in the backseat of the car, but that's usually just with a stripper you pick up from the strip club. Said it doesn't count.
But then you start playing the game, and the game is what I'm talking about. The game is rated, right?
But all of those games, they're good games. I'm not going to knock them. But we're going back to AEW Fight Forever. They're trying to get a T rating for teen.
Shouldn't you just if you're making a video game, shouldn't it be okay for anybody like 12 or 13 on up to play it and just,
no, not necessarily.
Just do that?
Not necessarily. Language,
it's
guns.
A fucking game.
Doesn't matter. Parents want it. There are parents out there who don't want their kids playing a game if there's going to be naughty language, if there's going to be guns, if there's going to be violence. There are parents who do monitor that.
Well,
I play the games with my kids and I tell them what the hell's going on.
Well, but I mean, does it have to have all the blood and the gore and the violence and everybody saying fuck, or couldn't we come to a happy medium where, I mean, it shouldn't be a 6-year-old wouldn't be able to figure out how to work the shit or whatever. But
if I'm playing Red Dead Redemption and I'm riding
whatever that may be,
it's the greatest game ever.
All right.
Number 2 is great too. If I'm playing Red Dead Redemption, much better than Tetris, and I like Tetris. But if I'm riding around on a horse and I maybe getting cursed at by people chasing me, trying to kill me and steal my stuff, if I have to jump off my horse and kill an animal so I can sell the pelt to get some money.
What in the God's name is going on in this fucking situation? If people are chasing you on a horse, you're going to stop and kill animals to sell pelts? This sounds like a goddamn stressful experience.
Now, the big difference.
Why would you want to willingly interact with these people and involve yourself in this? Would it be more relaxing to go read a book and learn something?
Well, I could do that too, but this is very relaxing and a lot of fun, even when you have to dodge arrows and bullets. But if I was playing this game, what was the question?
I don't know.
You should play this game. I think that was the statement here. Oh, back to this email here from Waldorf, Maryland.
Yeah, the email with the game. They too much blood and whatever the case.
P.S. AEW needs to sell over 330,000 copies at $60 to make up for the $20 million investment, not accounting for any money that was initially put into the project.
No. Because they're not selling the game themselves like I do Cornette's Collectibles, where only me and the Featherbottoms get a little soups on, a little drava out of that, but they're going to be selling these in stores. The stores and the distributors and everything, they take it.
Online stores is going to be the big sales.
Well, yeah, it's not like AEW is going to get the $60 or whatever it is off of every game. So the mathematics are flawed there. You'll have to sell many more than that to actually recoup. And people were saying the investment was more than $20 million.
Well, the other thing too, to take into the equation, not knowing all the details, but I've been led to believe that what AEW was doing, what their investment was not just for one game. It was to have the mechanism there to go to game 2, game 3 eventually, or do other things. If it's just for the one game, then it's like, wow, that's a lot of money. But if they have other games in the pipeline that would be coming down the alley, or down the aisle, I guess.
Down the alley?
Coming down the aisle?
Yeah, well, Twinkle Toes is involved. But, well, how many other games can they have? Don't they have to get some more wrestlers before they can have more games?
Well, maybe they could do like individual break-off games, like Darby Allin's Skate or Die. Like something like that.
Can we vote on that? See which one he does?
No, we cannot. You cannot.
Thought this was a democracy. Everybody got a vote. I'll come down firmly on one side of that issue, but nevertheless, so point is, why do they need all this blood in the video game that it's so much blood the teenager would be traumatized by seeing it? Aren't they shooting themselves in the foot, again, delaying whatever and or limiting their audience? But how much blood can there be in a fucking video game? Well, and in a wrestling video game, it's not like, are they going to be able to shoot each other or impale each other with spears, or blood shooting out of people's chests, or are they caving their heads in where their brains explode? Is there blood? Does UFC have a game?
Yes, they've had, I think, a few games.
Is there blood in the UFC game?
I'm sure there is. I haven't really played them. I played them a long time ago, just not my kind of game.
What's their rating, I wonder?
Hold on, I'll tell you right now. UFC video game. Remember, comic books used to have, not necessarily ratings, but you had to have the commission approve your comic book.
Well, no, the comics code, but that's what I'm saying. If you had a comic book during the days of the Comics Code Authority that was sold on a newsstand, it was rated for all audiences, widest possible fucking readership. Go ahead.
I'm looking here. I'm trying to, here's the price, here's the developer, here's the series. Rating. Hold on. Rating. It is rated. Now, these are just people's star ratings for the fucking thing. Hold on. Here we go. Let me see what this is. This had something here in the previous screen, and then I clicked this one, and now there's just here we go. According to this game is rated T for blood, language, mild, suggestive themes, and violence. MMA matches can get fairly bloody. This game's attempt to replicate that may not be appropriate for younger children. Also, this being a T-rated game, a lot of the songs are allowed to get away with words like bitch, shit, and damn. Parents beware. That was someone else's.
Parents beware. Beware of this bitch there. Up in here. All right, well, the point is, if the UFC fights can get a teen rating, then what the fuck are they doing to each other over in AEW that they can't get a teen rating that they really need in that game to be successful?
From the mind of Kenny Omega, I don't know what they're doing.
Well, right there you have just hit on something. From a non-existent brain of a confused individual comes continued chaos.
Well, Jim, our next question sent to CornyDriveThru@gmail.com from Brandon. He doesn't say if he wants his last name here, so I won't say it. My question is about Jake Roberts' recent comments saying that Kenny Omega is far better than Flair and Michaels. There's a quote here. Flair and Michaels were great, don't get me wrong, but are they the best of all time? God, no. I would honestly put Kenny Omega above both of them. He's freaking unbelievable. I really love his finishing maneuver. I think he calls it one-winged angel. That running knee to the face, that is pretty crisp too.
Pretty crisp.
So there's comments from Jake Roberts to one of the executives in AEW.
What does he call it? Jake has been working for that company for 3 years, right? Allegedly. He's shown up a time or two. Doesn't know what the guy's fed. Look, basically, obviously, no, Jake Roberts does not think that. However, Jake Roberts has a reason. We can speculate on what it is. It might be the most obvious answer sometimes is the one that you go with. But Jake Roberts has a reason for either wanting to downplay Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair or upplay Kenny Olivier. Especially, I think the upplaying is because he works there and he's done very little for, I assume, a regular paycheck. They fucking said he took like a year off of television from his highly prized manager role there in AEW because he was on oxygen because of his advanced COPD. And when they did Tales from the Territories, he's smoking on the set. Jake is whatever is going to benefit Jake Roberts is what Jake is going to say. And most people are that way, but he carries it to an extreme. But he either wants old Kenny to be happy with him or the company to be happy with him, or he's still mad at Flair and or Michaels for whatever that they've done or said to him in the past, which includes them having fairly long, successful careers and Jake having burned a lot of his bridges and been on the outs of the business at an early age. But otherwise, I mean, I can't, because he's a smart guy and he doesn't really believe that because it's ridiculous. If you just go on the standard of Jake, the era that he came from, knowing what a good worker is versus what a good gymnast is, if anything else. But no, whether it's heat with Flair and Michaels and he figure, yeah, I'll really this will get under their skin, or whether it's he's wanting to renegotiate his next AEW contract or get in good with somebody for something on the positive side, I'm pretty sure where that comes from.
Jim, our next question sent to CornyDriveThru at gmail.com from Zach. Going forward, it's an interesting question. I'm going to make it a little more into a question.
Okay, in the form of a question, please.
Who do you think has a brighter future? Dominic, Mysterio, or Hook?
Oh, right. There's two ways to answer that. Who has a better future because of their own talent, or who has a better future because of their current position? And Dominic's future is much brighter because of his current position. Hook's, if it was just athletic ability, uniqueness, difference, and a kind of a strange appeal to the young folks, Hook's future is bright, but he's with a company that his booking will be questionable at best, and you won't see him regularly, and they're not going to put any concerted effort behind him or anybody else because their attention span is Tony's attention span is that of a fucking flea, and so unless it's somebody with the pull to demand to be on each week and do things that they do, a la Chris Jericho, that's a problem. Whereas Dominic, they've already decided they're going to push him. They're featuring him regularly every week with a featured group. So even if I'm not, his in-ring is the thing I'm the least fan of about him. And I think that he does a wonderful job as a really clueless putz wrestler part of the group. If they ever tried to concentrate on him on his own, that would be a different story. Whereas I can see Hook evolving into a single when he gets a little older, a little bigger, and a little rougher looking. So it just depends. I mean, Dominic, because of where he is right now, his future is brighter, but Hook has a lot of potential.
Dominic came in as a babyface, very little experience, if any. He's now a heel. He still has a lot to learn in the ring, but at least he has a little bit of a personality. He's seemed more of a natural as a heel, which is surprising because he seemed like a natural, nice little babyface when he was bopping to the ring with his dad. Hook is still relatively exactly the same as the first time we saw him. People were clamoring to see him actually do something for a while. He was just in the background. Then
the clamor has died down.
Then he started wrestling some matches. That's the thing. When you think about a future, you don't know what will happen, but Hook hasn't shown much to see what there is, and he's been around for a little while. Dominic, you could see that he could be on the mic annoying people in 5 years or 10 years or whatever it may be. I think Hook has to show a little more first.
Well, see, that's part of the problem is we have to see him a little more first. Because again, with Tony's, Tasmanian devil fucking booking philosophy where everything just fucking spins up in the air. I know Hook's getting advice from his dad, from people, his dad's friends, from people that he works with. But he's only really getting to put that into practice, plus getting to work with producers on his 3 or 4 minute match he has on YouTube, and every once in a while he wanders out on Dynamite or whatever. Whereas Dominic is not only has had the benefit of his dad, but also had the benefit of the Performance Center, has also had the benefit of regular weekly use in a continuing story that even if he wasn't on a program, it was being VTR'd so you wouldn't forget about it. And he's been working not only with the full-time, the main roster talent there, and everybody loves Ray, so I'm sure they've given him advice, but he's in a group of people with varying degrees of experience, and he's been working with all the top producers on a weekly basis who are not only telling him things to do when he goes out there, but are critiquing and or suggesting and or, criticizing when he comes back on a regular basis. That's why he's developing. I've made the point the other day. It's sad that nobody develops talent anymore before they put them on television. I was talking about especially Tony, but everybody these days, they put guys on TV and then they decide to do something with them and then they change their name or whatever. And I said, I've never changed anybody's name. And this is what I said. Once I put them on television, somebody else emailed me and said, oh, you changed this guy's name in OVW to that and blah, blah, blah. No, not after I put them on television. Once they're on TV, unless it's as part of a story, as I said, they renounce their country and become Crusher Khrushchev and sympathize with the communists, or in some way their contract is bought or whatever, where it's there obviously as part of the story, their choice. You don't just say, okay, we've been showing you this guy for 3 months, but now he's a completely different person. Fuck you. Fans just fart and tune it out. So they're just, at least the WWE, they're trying with these talents and they've got a plan. And especially now with Vince not there tearing everything up at the last minute, these plans might get executed. But again, in AEW, because the fault lies with Tony, because he's, just got too much and not enough, too much to do and not enough sense to do it with. There's no development of any of these people. They're just going out and trying shit on their own on national television, see what works and what doesn't. And fortunately, if something doesn't work, by the next time you see that person, chances are people have forgotten about it. But unfortunately, if something does work, by the next time that you see that person again, that person's forgot to do that thing again.
Well, if I could change this question a little bit, looking forward, looking at the future of wrestling, who do you think will have the better attorney, Hook or Dominic Mysterio?
Well, I'll tell you what, regardless of which one needs an attorney, for their own particular reasons, it may be the bad booking of Hook over in AEW, or there may be sexual harassment from Rhea Ripley on Dominic Mysterio over in WWE, but no matter what the problem, I know the attorney that can handle any case.
Call Stephen P. News. If you need to sue. An outlaw mud show or two. Those are the rest.
And that's right, folks. Whether you need an attorney for mommy, or whether you need an attorney for Poppy, or whether you need an attorney for all the little fishes in the sea, one way or another, if you've been wronged or inconvenienced or harmed or aggrieved or injured or hurt or asked to leave and never return for no reason at all, the man that can help you, the man that's helped so many of the Cult of Cornette members, is, of course, Stephen P. New at newlawoffice.com, 888-692-8084. No, ladies and gentlemen, he is not just confined to the environs of the mountaineer state of West Virginia, where he's done so much good work for so many of the downtrodden people there. And boy, if you've been to West Virginia, there's some people that have been trodden down on over there. But he is now branching out all across the country, soon to bring order and justice to the poor, beleaguered people of the state of Louisiana because of the Entergy company that, instead of investing in the renewal and the renovation and the remodeling of their aging, weak infrastructure, instead they gave the money to their bigwigs and put together the infrastructure, the power grid, with bubble gum and super glue, and a hurricane came along and harmed thousands, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands. And that's who the people are that Stephen P. New is representing: the nameless, faceless, voiceless, homeless, carless, childless, hopeless people out there that just need a little break in life. If you fit that description, if you are less one of those many things, and you need somebody to fight for your rights that's not going to roll over and play dead, but is going to stand up to these evil corporations, again, Stephen P. New, newlawoffice.com, 888-692-8084, the consigliere of the cult of Cornette. I'm thinking he's going to bring me back. He told me this, Brian. He's going to, once he whips these Entergy people's asses down there in Louisiana and gets millions of dollars for their hard-working customers that have paid for this service in good faith and got the shaft, he's bringing me my own power tower. You know, the power company, they have the power tower there with all the wire. He's bringing me my own. I'm going to put it in the backyard, and I'm going to have my own electricity. I ain't going to have to worry about my own electric company.
Where's he getting it? He's taking it from them after he wins.
He's taking it. Yeah, he's
I don't think that's legal.
Well, it's going to be.
No, it's not. He's not going to change the law.
Shit.
He's not going to change the law. How?
Stephen P. New is going to go down there and tell them the way that things are going to be. As I've said many times, Stephen P. New will give any man one chance to do the right thing. And then after that happens, whether it be a opposing attorney or judge or paralegal or whoever it may be, he'll pick that sumbitch upside down, shake him for change, and tell him the way things are going to be. After he finishes making this Entergy company pay all of its customers for the inconvenience in this big class action suit, he's bringing me my own power tower that I can put in my backyard, and I'll just plug into it, and I can have my own electricity. That's a kind of benevolent man that Stephen P. New is. You don't have your own power tower?
I don't have my own power tower, and I don't.
Stephen must not like you.
I don't certify that anything you just said in this spot is accurate. I don't want to be accused of false advertising because of some of the crazy things you're saying here.
The information about Entergy is accurate. I'll have you know that they filed a mass tort. They filed it with an E on the end of tort, and when a mass tort with an E on the end of it gets filed, people start running for cover. Entergy, they picked up the phone and, oh, shit, it's a tort with an E, and it's in mass? Shit, it must be Stephen P. New again.
That's a good name for a overweight attorney gimmick. Mass tort. All right, well, Stephen P. New, that's right. That's not Stephen P. New. That's mass tort.
All righty then. Stephen P. New, and boy, you ought to see his paralegals, folks.
Well, Jim, let's get a few more questions before we get out of here. This one was sent on via email to CornyDriveThru.
It was on the email.
On the email to CornyDriveThru@gmail.com from a humanoid in Liverpool. Hello, Mr. Cornette. When the legendary Bobby the Brain Heenan would call wrestlers a ham and egger, what did he mean by that? Is it a wrestling term or just something Bobby Heenan used to say?
Well, more than a wrestling term, this gentleman is from Liverpool, which I assume is still in the United Kingdom, so it's more of an old American expression. A ham and egger is a regular Joe, a fucking guy that, when he goes to a restaurant, he's going to order ham and eggs because that's all he can afford. it's an outdated expression because Bobby would be what today? He was 20 years older than me or whatever. And so he would, was born in the 40s. So he would have picked up that expression. But that's really what it came from. It's just a derogatory term for some everyday schlub, a ham and egger.
You have a favorite Bobby Heenan expression?
Well, I liked all of Bobby's shit, but at the same time, he had his patterns of speech or figures of speech he would use, but he didn't have catchphrases as much as they do today. That's why it was just off the top of his head. And the one-liners that he would zing with were often, better than just his regular insults. But the plebeians out there, or was that Bockwinkel? Bobby picked that up too. But that was just, that was, I guess, that era's version of a jabroni, right? A ham and egger.
Well, Jim, our next question sent to CornyDriveThru@gmail.com from Gavin in Scranton. With the third version of the XFL debuting soon, how long will it last? Longer or shorter than Vince McMahon's retirement?
Well, I don't know if anything could be shorter than Vince's retirement, but, actually, they've been skirting. How long did the second version of the XFL last? Did they actually play a game? I can't remember.
I think they did. I think it was actually considered all right the second go around, and then the pandemic.
That's what it was. I don't know. I haven't been keeping up with this, and I'm not a football expert, but I would think that if The Rock and whoever he's, got partnering with him, if they're involved and et cetera, they're not going to do anything stupid, and they're not going to be as confrontational as Vince would have been with the NFL or with, possibly ex-NFL names they're trying to get in some position or whatever. They're probably going to want to work with everybody. So I would think, and they've taken, it's been a couple years now since this has been building up to start. So I would think they've thought through this carefully. They're not as impulsive as Vince is. Vince got to the point there where he just thought he could fund anything and didn't give a shit. And I don't think that these people are going to risk that much money unless they have a reasonable expectation that some of it's going to come back. So this will probably, I don't know that it's going to, replace the NFL. I don't think that's even what they're trying to do. I think as something that goes in, the off season of the NFL, it might be possible. We'll find out. But I don't think they're just going to be as fucking crazy and take it or leave it and adamant about what to do as Vince was either time.
All right. Well, let's get another question here, Jim.
And they probably won't hire one of those, whatever that coach's name was, for fucking tens of millions of dollars and then fire him about 15 minutes before they find out they're going to fold up so they don't have to pay him and get sued. They're probably not going to do that.
Jim, this next question sent to CornyDriveThru@gmail.com from Charlie in Greenville, South Carolina.
Has he moved?
This is a different Charlie.
Different one. I didn't know there were two Charlies.
I'm a huge fan, and I believe I've logged the most podcast hours in the 2022.
Okay, is he from South Carolina by way of Cambodia, or is this...
I probably crossed 100,000 hours between both shows. Now, I must say...
Wait a minute. Hold on. Now, remember, we were doing this a couple weeks ago. We were saying people, because Spotify, at the end of the year, they sent out statistics to people on how long they listen to their favorite podcasts. And we said, we need a champion. And the guy that wrote us the email had listened to The Experience. He was in the top 0.01%. According to the Spotify folks, he had listened to The Experience 68,000 and the Drive Thru like 62,000 minutes, not hours, minutes. If this guy's claiming he listened for 100,000 hours, how many hours are there in a year? I see you're scrambling for the Calculator.
8,760
hours in a year.
That's correct.
That means he listened to our show for a total of 13-something years last year. I smell a rat. I'm calling shenanigans.
Well, let's go back to his question here.
Oh, he's still got the nerve to ask something.
Now, I must say, a lot of that time is due to playing the podcast while I sleep at night.
Yeah, apparently in a fucking hyperbaric chamber out in space where time is warped.
But also while I'm at the gym or as background while I'm working.
Or flying around the world like Hulk Hogan backwards across the international date line to do the whole day over again.
I love the shows.
You'd have to.
All right, well, and again, with the Spotify thing, people sent us graphics. He's just presuming this. He
just pulled this number out of his fucking sphincter.
The exact quote, I probably crossed 100,000 hours. My question...
Yeah, he probably crossed some of that bathtub fucking gin or that under the fucking kitchen sink methamphetamine is what...
My question is, what differentiates Southern wrestling in the territories from the others? Jim has mentioned that the book Smoky Mountain Wrestling or a similar program, you need wrestlers that know how to work Southern style. Is that more about the action in the ring, the angles, the fan interaction, or something else?
All of the above.
What defines Southern wrestling is the actual title of the email.
It was all of the above. And once again, Southern wrestling can also take into, we in the South don't consider Texas South, but some of the Texans do. It's Southwest. But the major territory in the Northeast, as we've talked about, what Vince McMahon Sr. took over and then sold to his son, that territory up there was built on big guys, and we've talked about it, Vince's motto, the sizzle, not the steak. And not to say that the talent was bad, but it was monthly shows, if that, in bigger arenas, in bigger metropolitan areas, and they didn't have to do so many personal angles and issues and refreshers to get people to go to weekly events. And so, again, bigger guys, a little bit less action, more of the sizzle and the steak, the personalities. Same thing with Vern. Vern's promotion was more straight-laced, even though he didn't go the complete giant route. He liked ex-wrestlers, football players, real jocks, and the occasional gimmick like the Crusher, who actually was a bodybuilder in his younger days. But they didn't do tons of angles on the TV because, again, their towns were monthly, and they had big major markets, and it was a straighter-laced presentation. When you got down to smaller markets, smaller cities in North and South Carolina or Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, you had weekly shows where you had to constantly keep things fresh, and they used more personal issues, more personal grudges, more wild fucking promos and angles. The guys over 50 or 60 years in that part of the country came to realize that the fans would come to a certain extent to just see the match and the big title match or whatever. But if somebody had really gotten into somebody else's shit, shaved their head without their permission, or goddamn ripped their clothes off on television, or saying the horrible things, the trash talking, the promos were wilder, the action was more over the top because you had to keep people interested and involved. And another thing was, I think, and video of this is borne out, those territories had to keep the people convinced that what they were seeing was real more than the big territories in the North or the Midwest, because they didn't have the population to draw from, and they needed to bring the same people in, and they needed to be hooked that they were seeing a fight. So the work was tighter, or the matches were bloodier, or the execution of the angles was more realistic because they had to be. And that's kind of, and you would see big major stars in all these territories, but they would adjust their styles. The ones that knew what they were doing and the ones that could get over anywhere would adjust their styles based on what the fans and the promoter in those specific territories wanted, what style they wanted. Straight wrestling, wild and crazy, fucking personal issue, fucking personal promos, or whatever the case. And some guys got over everywhere, and some guys got over in the places that tailored more to their strengths and and it didn't show up their weaknesses. King Kong Bundy worked in Memphis, but he was not known as one of the great heels ever in Memphis, but people still remember him 30 years later in the WWF. Because of his size and his appearance, not necessarily, and the way he was able to work at that size and appearance, but not necessarily his work alone. A lot of times when you would see guys in a southern territory, if their work couldn't hang and they were all about the gimmick, they wouldn't have a very long run because people would get tired of them because they're seeing all these great fucking workers.
So do you think one of the things that defines Southern wrestling specifically is just, when you break it down and compare it to, like you said, Vince McMahon Sr.'s wrestling, Vern Gagne's wrestling, various other places, the weekly aspect of it?
To me, the weekly aspect was what necessitated the guys go farther and go to more lengths and take the extra step to make people buy it, because they had to keep the same people coming back every week. But that led to, in my opinion, and again, most of the time when tape collectors, and going back to the early days of what's available on tape, they didn't want to watch the AWA TV show. They didn't want to watch the WWF TV show because it was just squash matches and promos for the big show at the arena. They wanted to see the weekly Southern shows, Mid-South Wrestling or Georgia Championship Wrestling or Mid-Atlantic Wrestling, because that gave you more action, more excitement, more chaos going on, and the work was either tighter or more believable, or just it was grittier and more violent. And that's what the feedback that we got when Crockett expanded into Baltimore and Philadelphia. You had two crowds. You had the crowd in Philly at the Spectrum going to see the WWF matches that loved it and packed it, and it was a traditional WWF city. But when Crockett got television on up there, you had a crowd of anywhere from 5,000 to 10,000 people that were going to come every month to see the NWA at the Civic Center, because they said, this was their words. I talked to many of them. We've, become friends with guys like Frank Chili and Dennis Corluzzo, who started out as fans in Philly. And they said the people viewed the NWA as the gritty shit, the more real, down and dirty, violent stuff. The WWF was pretty and stars and bells and whistles, but goddamn, those guys at the Civic Center, they get into fucking fights. So there was an audience for both. But that was kind of the difference, and it was a melting pot. Philly was at the time, and Baltimore too. Actually, Crockett almost pretty much took Baltimore away from Vince for a while there. But they liked the different style because it completely was different from the wrestling they had traditionally seen for years and years in that part of the country. And when television was still regional, you didn't know what the wrestling that you read about or the wrestlers you read about in the newsstand magazines from somewhere else, you didn't know what it looked like. You didn't know what the style was. You didn't know until you actually saw the TV show. And that's why I say, even though the prevailing cardinal rule or, command number one was don't do phony wrestling, don't expose the business, it's still every territory had its own style within the context of wrestling is a real sport. It still was all different announcers, different presentation, different style in the ring, different looking television show. And that's what, fans loved for variety. That now they say, oh, well, Fans want variety when they have a goddamn television program where in segment 1 and 2, you're supposed to believe that this life and death angle is taking place. In segment 3, the opponents are cooperating to do comedy. In segment 4, it's a goddamn live action video game or a kung fu movie. And that all doesn't go together. Anyway, that's my response.
All right, well, we have time for one more question here on the show. At least one more. Let's see how this goes. This was sent to CornyDriveThru@gmail.com from John in Westchester, Pennsylvania. I know you've talked about ring sizes before, but I swear, the Crockett rings in 1987 looked smaller than they did in 1986. Something changed. I'm picturing the 87 Crockett Cup, and that ring was small, and it wasn't just Baltimore. Now, the mat was darker than the light blue mats Crockett used in 86, so there's a chance this is influencing how I see the ring. By the way, I wish they hadn't changed the combination light blue matte yellow NWA lettering. Anyway, those rings by 87 were too small in my opinion. The guys had so little room to maneuver, it was claustrophobic to watch, and it made things look a bit Mickey Mouse. Does this ring a bell? Or am I fucking seeing things? Signed, Tim Horner's a douche, John in Westchester, Pennsylvania.
John in Westchester, you're seeing things. Regardless of what you think about the side, there was no difference in 86 and 87. Now, we've talked about this before. If you were at a spot show at a high school gym in those days, then sometimes you may see a 16-foot ring. For a small show in a small building, if somebody's being asked to, instead of bringing one of the regular promotion rings, there's somebody close, has a trailer and a ring, blah, 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 it's spot show, whatever. But no, all of Crockett Promotions rings and the ones that they booked when they went outside the normal territory were all 18-foot rings. Almost every ring in the wrestling business in the 70s and 80s, except for, like I say, little spot shows or little rinky-dink outlaw promotions in some small town, all of them were 18 feet, except for Vern Gagne's AWA and Vince Sr. and then Jr.'s WWF that used 20-foot rings. And that's a holdover from when Vern started in the late 40s in the business. Most of the rings were 20 feet because they were boxing rings. Some of them were bigger. And the Cobo Arena till the 70s in Detroit had what appeared to be at least a 24-foot ring. It was insane. And Vern, from Chicago and from all the big towns that he worked, he kept that tradition, 20-foot ring. And in a big building, it works because, you've got more room to move around in the ring, and it's bigger for people in the upper reaches of the general admission seats to see. However, having said that, Crockett and everybody else in the wrestling, and also in California, I think at least Los Angeles, the Olympic probably had a 20-foot ring. I bet you Shire used an 18-footer, just by thought. But most of the rest of the business used 18-footers because, again, newer times came up. You wanted an 18-foot ring. All the Southern promotions had 18-foot rings because they're easier to make the suspension ring that has the better give and the more bounce so you're not fracturing yourself. Also, a lot of times those promotions didn't have trucks. They just had trailers. Believe it, in an 18-foot ring, unless it's one of those goddamn spot show rings that are hard as a fucking rock and come into pieces, you've got 18-foot beams that are not collapsible. So you try getting a 20-foot beam on a goddamn trailer, it's more difficult for the transportation. So everybody used an 18-foot ring, and WCW adopted that from Crockett. And there was no difference in the size of Crockett's rings from 83, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or the WCW ring, 18 feet. And I like those better because the action is faster. as we mentioned, not only the 20-footers, Vince and Vern did this, used real ropes instead of cables, which slows you down when you're hitting the ropes. But they're harder to jump off of, etc. But an 18-foot ring, the action is faster. When you shoot a guy off of a headlock, he takes 3 steps, he's at the ropes. By the time you've got a chance to shake your head, he's coming back at you. You look up, you see him, it's too late. He hits you with the tackle. In a 20-foot ring, shit just takes a while to fucking transpire. It was built for the big guys, the Andres, the Hogans, etc. But so I like the 18-footers because they're easier to build with give, they're easier to transport, and the action inside them is faster. The 20-footers, especially with real ropes, are like a muddy horse track. And the only time you'll get a 16-footer is a small spot show where the building is a problem. I mean, there was one time a Ring of Honor show. When we made Ring of Honor's ring, Danny Davis had them custom made. We made them 19 feet to split the difference because so many of the guys were doing stuff on the apron and needed a little extra room. And also, it gave the look of almost a WWE ring, because that's what we ended up starting to use in OVW to try to make sure that the guys didn't have that culture shock when they moved from an 18-foot ring to a 20-foot ring. It'll really throw you off. So we made 19-footers. So it's a little closer, but still we could get it in the building. Because we made that ring for Ring of Honor, and they ran the building in Milwaukee. And we didn't know ahead of time, because Gary Juster is too lazy to go and look at it, that you couldn't, there was no freight elevator to the 3rd floor where the room was. We were going to have the matches. You had to bring the goddamn ring up the stairs. And if the beams had been 6 inches longer, they wouldn't have fit around the curve of the fucking stairs. We couldn't have got them on the 3rd floor. So all these things come into play. It ain't that easy. Just, let's have a 20-footer. Well, where are you putting it? What are you going to do with it?
How much of the 1980s WWF style that so many people look down upon, and so many of us have in the past,
was because of the rock hard rings?
How much of it was the bodies, the rock hard bodies, everyone getting bigger, the schedule, and how much of it do you think were the rings? Or was the rings, I should say?
All of those things in pretty equal installments. The guys were gaining weight because they were on the sauce, so they couldn't move like they used to. They were being run ragged on the road. So every day they were gone for 3 weeks at a time. So every day became a goddamn ordeal to get through. The rocks were like the fucking desk I'm leaning, or the rings were like a rock, like the desk I'm leaning on now. So guys modified or didn't take bumps because what the fuck? You're working every night for weeks and on a frying pan. And again, except for the guys like, the Bulldogs who came in from Calgary, with the habit of having to fucking get in there and really put out a match, or the guys who came from down south or mid-south or whatever, they quickly learned that Vince didn't put a premium on the quality of the match as much as, are there people in the building, and sell them the sizzle and get the fucking gimmicks over. So it was all those things for body self-preservation. Then why am I a mark going out and doing all this shit when nobody else is working that hard? And that's from 2 different viewpoints. Flair used to make fun of Hogan because by the time that Flair was just breaking a sweat in a title match in his ring, Hogan had already done his 8 minutes, dropped the leg, took a shower, and was back at the hotel. And Hogan used to make fun of Flair because when Flair was just starting to break a sweat in his match in his ring, Hogan had already done his 8 minutes, dropped the leg, taken a shower, and was back at the hotel. They were both laughing at each other for the same reason.
All right, Jim. Well, one last thing before we get out of here, because a few people sent in a question about this. It's a visual question in a sense. I don't know if you saw this picture. Ricky Starks apparently was at the Royal Rumble with Cody Rhodes. A lot of people with different questions. Anything you read into this, or is he just there with his friend Cody Rhodes?
Well, he's there with his friend Cody Rhodes right now, but it can't hurt to meet people. But no, it was a security camera that took the picture that was circulated, so it wasn't like they were in front of the fans. And everybody knows Cody and Starks are good friends, and Starks went to support him. And I'm sure Cody would love for Ricky Starks to meet the right people and they to remember his name when the proper time comes. And that's why that happened. They didn't, at least I'm not aware that they did it in front of the people. Tony Khan's such a nice guy. Sometimes, it's nice when the promoter's nice, like the Briscoe situation. Sometimes when the promoter's nice, people tread on him. If I was Tony, I would have made sure to let Mr. Starks know that if he didn't tell me he was going beforehand, he should have. And he better, if he goes again, tell me beforehand. And as long as he's not seen by the general public, there's not much you can do about that. But he better not be seen by the general public, or he'll be, well, I would say he'll be jobbing to the fucking popcorn vendor, but he's about there anyway. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't as egregious as, remember when the fucking second generation bushwhacker, what were they, the Highlander? One of the Highlanders came and sat in the audience at a TNA taping on WrestleMania weekend, 15 years ago? And right out there with the fans, just enjoying the show. So we saw that in the truck. We shot him. Put his fucking name up. Everybody loves TNA wrestling, even the WWE guys. And they fired him, which they should have. So there you go.
Like you said, this apparently is a photo off a security camera. Or I guess a screenshot off.
Yeah, a screenshot. But who tapped into the security system there at the fucking stadium? That's what I want to know, how the picture got out at all. But they weren't like just walking in the front door in front of the people.
Would Starks fit in WWE?
Yes, because they just put Johnny fucking Gargano on Raw. You mean tell me they don't think there's any room for Ricky Starks? At least he's bigger. He can do all the moves, and he can talk, and he's got some personality.
That he does. Sorry,
yeah.
Swami's barking up a storm outside.
You were trying to mute your dog, weren't you?
I was trying to mute something. Well, with that, the drive-thru is closed. Let's get a song or two and get out of here. People have been asking. Jim.
We're asking for us to get out of here or asking for a song?
A little bit of both. Well, with that, we're not topping that this week. With that, the drive-thru is closed. All right.
Would you like me to do my helicopter for you, Brian?
With your 12-inch cock?
Yes. I've got it right here.
Let's hear how it sounds.
I borrowed it for such an occasion. I got to take it back later on this afternoon.
Where Spencer's
I've got
gifts?
one here. Yeah, they've got them at Spencer's now. They've got extensions, or if you just want to get one, they've got the whole 12-inch ding-dong.
Well, of course, you can get more of our ding-dong this weekend on the Jim Cornette Experience, and next week right back here on the drive-thru. Go through the archive, your classic episodes of the Ding Dong going back to 2013 at patreon.com/Cornette. Of course, the official Jim Cornette YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and search for Jim Cornette. Full episodes, clips of episodes, omnibus collections, all with the very popular Travis Heckel artwork, the official Jim Cornette YouTube channel. You can follow Jim on Twitter at @TheJimCornette. You can follow me on Twitter at GreatBrianLast. You can hear me on the 605 Superpodcast at 605pod.com, or available wherever you find your favorite podcasts. And of course, the wrestling news each and every day. Free morning wrestling newscast. TheWrestlingNews.com, or look for Arcadian Vanguard's The Wrestling News, wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Cornette's Collectibles at JimCornette.com. What do you have to say for yourself?
I'm leaving town. The deals are just too hot.
At JimCornette.com. The drive-thru is brought to you by the Law Office of Stephen P. New, 888-692-8084.
Mass Tort.
Get even with Stephen. If your Mass Tort is arch nemesis, get even with Stephen at newlawoffice.com. But until this weekend on The Experience, and next week right back here on the drive-thru, for Jim Cornette, I'm the great Brian Last. Tally-ho!